The Black Sun King's arm is severed mid-grip, and Pearl opens her eyes to a woman who appeared from nowhere. Jiang Fan holds the ancient token, and the giant emperors are no longer laughing. Leave a like and subscribe to walk the path of tribulation. Ruin's state weren't even 20. The group of female venerables from Star Mountain were completely dumbfounded. No wonder the female disciples on the mountain admire him. I even scolded them multiple times for being infatuated. Now I admit I was too loud. Because I've begun to admire him too. The master of Star Mountain was filled with regret. How could Jiang Fan just be a match for Su Yining? It's simply that Su Yining is reaching up to him. I should have kept them both in bed back then until Su Yining got pregnant. Jiang Fan is so outstanding that their offspring would definitely be exceptional. The master of Star Mountain scrutinized Jiang Fan, saying, "Stay close during the final battle. Dying would be such a waste." A series of question marks popped up in Jiang Fan's mind. What does that mean? Just then, a fierce demonic aura swept across the sky, covering it with dense demonic energy, making the already dark and lightless night sky even darker. Ha, you all have arrived. The Golden Scale Venerate arrived with a group of demon monarchs full of demonic aura. They were densely packed, roughly numbering at least 40. Jiang Fan rubbed his eyes, thinking he was seeing things. He was shocked. "Senior Jinlin, how come there are so many demon monarchs from the demon continent?" Not only did he find it strange, but the several venerates present all looked astonished. Indeed, the demon continent is among the top 3 great states, but there were only about 20 demon monarchs in the divinity transformation realm. In this battle, without the aid of the great wine sacrifice, the demon continent was in a difficult situation, and logically there should have been many casualties. So why is the number increasing instead of decreasing? Moreover, not long ago, they saw the demon continent struggling with the ancient giants in battle. How did it end in the blink of an eye? The Golden Scale Venerate laughed heartily. "We naturally have a noble benefactor assisting us. All right, enough talk. The battle is about to start. Let us hurry to the connecting sky-black pillar. This time we must annihilate the ancient giants completely." Everyone was invigorated. With the addition of more than 40 demon monarchs, the Central Earth faction now has 100 divinity transformation realms. Compared to the 120 giant kings of the Central Tribal Army, the gap narrowed significantly. Xingyuan Venerable ascended into the sky and said, "Now that all states have gathered, let us depart swiftly." All the divinity transformation realms from each state soared into the sky, their gaze fixed on the direction of the connecting sky-black pillar, each activating their instantaneous movement ability. Jiang Fan intentionally lagged behind. Only when everyone had left did he approach Xingyuan Venerable. "Senior, may I ask where your being is?" Xingyuan Venerable retorted. "What's the matter?" Jiang Fan took out Wudong Venerable's merit round pearl. After giving Lianjing Venerable and Ice Heart Venerate 1/10 each, he still had 8/10 left. "Will this merit allow you to entering Sage?" Xingyuan Venerable's pupils contracted, filled with astonishment that couldn't settle for a long time. "Good lad, the merit you hold is more than any contemporary heavenly human 5 declines. Combined with the blessings of heavenly merit after this battle, a Venerable will surely succeed in entering Sage." He looked envious. Not all Venerates accumulate enough merit after a significant battle. For example, newly promoted Venerates do not usually accumulate merit. Relying solely on the battle is insufficient. If combined with the merit in Jiang Fan's hands, it would definitely be a sure thing. Unexpectedly for Xingyuan Venerable, Jiang Fan stuffed it into Xingyuan Venerable's hands without a second thought. "But I only trust you. I hope after the battle you succeed in entering Sage. Central Earth needs a sage like you." With that, he moved on to catch up with the others through instantaneous movement. Leaving Xingyuan Venerable looking at the merit divine pearl in his hand, dumbfounded. A moment later, a look of comfort appeared on his face. "Thank you. In this battle you have to survive." Connecting sky-black pillar. When Jiang Fan arrived, everyone else was already there. They looked extremely solemn. Looking over, Jiang Fan was also shocked. In the darkness of night, he saw a dazzling river of stars in the sky. Hundreds of stars twinkling brightly. Some were white, some red, some blue, and others multicolored. Spectacularly resplendent, leaving one enchanted. The starlight shone, faintly illuminating the night, reflecting the pitch-black earth sporadically bright and dark. However, amid the interplay of light and shadow, a hideous giant face, half in starlight and half in shadow, flashed by. Hair like steel needles, straight and robust. A massive vertical eye, neither smiling nor frowning. Scary fangs curling back. It's a giant. No, not just one giant. Under the starry river is face after face of giants impossible to count. That river of stars is not a star river at all. Those are the stars on their foreheads. In the darkness of night, their towering bodies stood silent like overlapping mountains, stretching to the horizon. They stood silently. The insects around fell silent, not daring to make a sound, and even the noisy night wind seemed to disappear. The world was frighteningly quiet. Thump! The ground suddenly quaked violently. A blazing golden sun fell heavily before the mountains. The intense golden light illuminated half the sky, revealing the full extent of the mountains. It was a group of giant kings, glowing all over with golden light, towering 30 zhang, the shorter ones at 20 zhang. They lined up in an unbroken row. Looking left and right, the end was nowhere in sight. That golden sun also slowly stood up, like a great mountain rising steadily from the ground. 40 zhang, 50 zhang, 60 zhang, 70 zhang, 80 zhang, 90 zhang. It was a super-large giant emperor reaching 90 zhang high. On his forehead, 6 dazzling, blinding suns spun silently. 6-sun giant emperor, the super-emperor sitting at the center of the heavenly realm's central tribe. He has descended to central Earth. The whole world echoed with trembling, the space around him fractured into densely packed void cracks, and fissures opened on the ground underfoot. As if unable to bear his existence, the golden light flowed over his entire body, illuminating a stretch of heaven and earth. The faces of Central Earth's powerhouses were also illuminated. The tremors were reflected in their pupils, mirroring the prehistoric-level terrifying giant emperor. Even Jiang Fan's soul trembled silently. He had seen the Gangfeng giant emperor and the sleeping giant emperor with 2 sons. But compared to the giant emperor before them, they were like stars compared to the bright moon, unable to compete. Thump, 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 the earth trembled once more. 7 golden suns fell from the 9 heavens again onto the central Earth's ground. They stood separately to the right and left of the central tribal emperor, rising slowly from the deep pits on the ground. Giant emperors. They were all giant emperors, a total of 7 giant emperors. The brilliant golden light made the world glow golden. It also made the pupils of Central Earth's powerhouses contract sharply. However, this was not over. At the pinnacle of Kingaming, a human clad in a black robe embroidered with a giant red eye, hands behind his back, slowly descended at the foot of the 6-sun giant emperor. His face was hidden in the darkness, indistinguishable. His body emitted no aura at all. But behind him, a pitch-black monument declared his identity, inferior sage of the human clan. He was not alone. Several figures appeared simultaneously on both sides. 10 inferior sages of the human clan, clad in black robes with red-eye totems, stood silently at the feet of the central tribal emperor. 10 sins of Central Earth. They have also descended. Venerable, what angers and saddens the Central Earth people is. Among the 10 sins of Central Earth, the mysterious inferior sage has 2 black monuments. Amazingly, it's the second calamity sage realm, comparable to Taikang State's Great Wine Sacrifice. The reason he was able to ascend was by absorbing enough hatred from Central Earth. It means that 1,000 years ago he committed a heinous act that incited both human and divine fury in Central Earth. Advancing further for the sages of Central Earth is extremely difficult, yet it's easy for a traitor. Isn't this a satire? Including them, there are as many as 18 on the giant emperor's side. Their auras are restrained, not deliberately released, yet even so, the space continues to warp. Once the great battle begins, just their aura alone could tear vast expanses of the void. The majestic 90 zhang figure of the central tribe emperor overlooks the Central Earth powerhouses opposite. He crosses his arms over his chest, vertical eyes arrogantly gazing, speaking indifferently. Has Central Earth no more sages? His substantial gaze sweeps across, leaving faint cracks in the void. Tianluo Sage, Wanyun Sage, Compassionate Sage, and Red-Faced Sage are all forced into their physical forms. Dazzling golden light shines on their faces, fully exposing their grave expressions. 4 against 18. How can this battle be fought? A suffocating feeling makes it hard for them to breathe. The head of the 10 sins of Central Earth, the second calamity sage realm, leans on a cane, speaking lightly. Is Central Earth so downfallen after a millennium? Truly disappointing. Rage burns in Wanyun Sage's eyes. You still have the face to stand out. 1,000 years ago, victory for Central Earth was within sight, yet your betrayal among the 10 sins led to our great defeat. I hate that I wasn't born 1,000 years earlier to annihilate you all one by one. Tianluo Sage's already small eyes narrow into slits. Your second Calamity Realm cultivation was gained by personally killing the Baishuan Sword Master and absorbing Central Earth's hatred, wasn't it? Now, do you Ten Sins desire to rekindle Central Earth's hatred towards you, hoping to recapture a breakthrough? What? He is one of the traitors who attacked the Baishuan Sword Master, and personally killed the Baishuan Sword Master. Killing intent flickers in Jiang Fan's eyes as he looks at the cane in his hand. That is a cane entwined with grass vines, yet inside it lies a sword with terrifying pressure, a quasi-realm artifact sword. What makes Jiang Fan clench his fist is the Tingsu sword artifact spirit within him reacted somewhat when this inferior sage appeared. Could it be that the sword in his hand was once one of the 9 swords of Baishuan Sword Master? Legend has it that the other swords were all destroyed, but there's no record of their whereabouts. Since this person personally killed the Baishuan Sword Master, taking a relatively intact one back to the heavenly realm for repair and nurturing it into a quasi-realm artifact sword is entirely possible. That damned thing. The eyes beneath the black hat of the second Calamity inferior sage observe them indifferently, without any emotional fluctuation, his hoarse voice full of apathy. Heaven creates all things to nourish mankind, but man has nothing to repay heaven. Humans are inherently selfish and self-serving creatures. So-called nobility is merely a mask for hypocrites who dare not confront their selfish and ugly nature. You are no better than me. At least I dare to face my true nature. The statement makes the Central Earth crowd laugh in anger. How shameless to paint himself in such a light, Jiang Fan scoffs. Such lowly and misleading fallacies come from the mouth of a virtuous realm. Have you no face in dressing yourself up? Didn't you see the sages of 1,000 years ago sacrificing themselves to save the world? Not to mention sages. A bodhisattva from Taikang State took breath soil to feed the demons in sacrifice to save everyone. The 9 orifice and 8 orifice nascent souls from Taikang State sacrificed themselves in suicide attacks against the ancient giants. Can you and the 9 traitors behind you compare to them? Do you deserve the virtuous realm, or the fortune Central Earth expended to help you achieve it? You don't deserve it. No matter how you gloss it over, you are still the 10 sins of Central Earth, and you can't change the fact that you're eternally nailed to the pillar of shame. Suddenly, thunder rumbles across the field. Many in the divinity transformation realm cheer for Jiang Fan. Well said, Starfare Venerable, do these twisted fallacies intend to mislead us? A sinner is a sinner, forever dreaming of redemption. Wanyan Sage laughs heartily, approving. Well said, in a butterfly's eyes, everything is fragrant, whereas flies see only the stench. A selfish person sees only selfishness. How could they see the selfless, heroic ones? Iceheart Venerate can't help but glance at Jiang Fan, quietly muttering. Why does what he say touch my heart so deeply? Just now the inferior sage's words about human selfishness had stumped her. Jiang Fan's words enlightened her, freed her from being led astray. The dark eyes beneath the black cloak of the inferior sage turned to Jiang Fan, gaze indifferent. A mere little divinity transformation knows not what the world is, yet looks up to the heavens. How laughable, laughable. Leaning on his cane, he steps forward slowly, hoarsely saying, Let the great battle begin with your blood. As his words fall, a layer of destructive void cracks spreads from below his cane to Jiang Fan's front. Terrifying immense heavenly pressure envelops instantly. Wanyan Sage and red-faced Elder's expressions change slightly, and they both move to protect Jiang Fan. The inferior sage looks on indifferently, rasping. An ant shaking a tree, overestimating its ability. He steps forward again, heavenly pressure multiplying. Wanyan Sage, red-faced Elder, along with compassionate and Tianluo sages feel as if a mountain is pressing down. Their sage bodies tremble, faces showing pain. Relying on his soul power, the second Calamity inferior sage suppresses the 4 sages of Central Earth. The second Calamity inferior sage gazes indifferently toward Jiang Fan, his eyes like substantial spiritual artifacts piercing his body. Before all the Central Earth powerhouses, he kills Jiang Fan as if it were mere pocketing. Yet Jiang Fan shows no fear, nor is he suppressed by supposed heavenly might. He wears a serene smile, a 9-colored crystal quietly appearing in his palm. Expecting this moment since he first rebuffed him. Silently he thinks, Yoren, my love, I must break my promise. There's no going back now, however. At this moment the second Calamity inferior sage suddenly retreats, raising his cane to point at the space in front of Jiang Fan. The cane easily pierces the space, revealing a void black hole. From the hole, a hand covered in green scales casually grips the cane. A cold voice echoes from the void. "The sinner of the past, dare you return to Central Earth?" Snapping sound. The green-scaled hand clenches, shattering the vines on the cane, revealing a slender sword like moonlight. The second calamity, inferior sage's eyes narrow, instantaneously moving back to the foot of the six-sun giant emperor, eyes slightly serious. Green scale, demon venerable. Could it be the fabled green dragon demon venerable of yore? The void silently tears apart. A tall, pale-faced, androgynous youth with long, slanted eyes, handsome in appearance, slowly steps out. Behind him follows respectfully a demon of the demon monarch realm. A divine ring with ice and fire glimmers at the back of his head. It's the long-lost ice and fire demon lord. Yeazun, the gentle and handsome demon venerable, curled his lips into a slight arc. "It would be great if she were still living in this era. As a junior, I've always been dissatisfied. Why does the Dragon Clan hold the top position among all demons? Implicitly, he is not the Azure Dragon Yeazun, nor is he from the Dragon Clan." The four sages of Central Earth showed an expression of surprise. "Nine Nether Yeazun, when did you return to Central Earth?" Tianluo Sage was overjoyed, his face full of flattery. "Weren't you traveling outside the realm?" Nine Nether Yeazun disdainfully waved the air before his nose. "How long has it been since you bathed? If unknown, one would think you've returned to the divine transformation and are facing the heavenly human decline tribulation." Wanyun Sage and Compassionate Sage both showed reverence and stepped forward to pay their respects. "Greetings, Nine Nether Yeazun." But Nine Nether Yeazun did not respond to them. He simply nodded symbolically towards the red-faced sage, appearing somewhat proud, not quite mingling with the human sages. Jiang Fan was secretly amazed. If he's not mistaken, Nine Nether Demon Venerable is also one of the sage-level beings who entered in a millennium. Moreover, he's the only sage from the demon race. Unexpectedly, he could repel the inferior sage at the second calamity realm, showcasing undeniable strength. Many thanks to Nine Nether Demon Venerable for the salvation. Jiang Fan respectfully thanked him. Nine Nether Demon Venerable turned his head towards Jiang Fan, seemingly noticing the multicolored glow within Jiang Fan. "Are you the little fellow who doesn't greet upon seeing sages?" Jiang Fan said, "Indeed, I am the junior." Nine Nether Demon Venerable gently nodded his chin, casually grasping the air, gathering all the scattered grass vines into his palm. "Take this." Jiang Fan hesitantly accepted the grass vines with both hands. These vines were entangled around the quasi-holy artifact soared by the inferior sage. "Do they have any use?" Nine Nether Demon Venerable said calmly, "These are the heavenly realm's immortal binding vines. Only sages cannot destroy them. Woven into grass rope, they can bind enemies." Jiang Fan was overjoyed, realizing these inconspicuous grass vines were actually so powerful. So these could even bind the strong heavenly human five declines experts. Beside him, the Jiangshan first-class building owner gently nudged Jiang Fan's arm and transmitted a message. "Nine Nether Demon Venerable has never shown favor towards our human clan. Giving you something is quite out of the ordinary." Jiang Fan understood, quickly said, "Many thanks for the treasure given by the senior. Should the senior have any tasks in the future, just instruct." Nine Nether Demon Venerable said flatly, "No need. You've treated my demon race well. In the future, if trouble arises, go to Spiritual Snake Mountain. If they can't resolve it, I'll step in." Suggesting that in the future he'll protect Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan was overjoyed. At this moment, he noticed Ice and Fire Demon Lord cast him a smiling glance, immediately understanding. It must be that Ice and Fire Demon Lord spoke well of him in front of Nine Nether Demon Venerable. For instance, there's helping Ice Fire Demon Lord heal and caring for the demons of the continent. This impressed Nine Nether Demon Venerable. He returned a grateful glance. "The demon beast on your chest is..." At this time, Nine Nether Demon Venerable noticed Rebellious Guy, a fleeting surprise before laughing. "You should be thankful that Azure Dragon Yeazun's whereabouts are unknown. Otherwise, I'd worry you wouldn't survive 3 seconds." Jiang Fan realized Rebellious Guy's identity. Originally, it was the offspring of True Spirit, also an offspring of the demon race's virtuous realm. Additionally, it had blue scales all over, with a pair of tiny dragon horns on its head and dragon whiskers. The identity was clear. It's indeed the offspring of the Azure Dragon Yeazun from back then. He fought with her child strapped to his chest. No wonder Azure Dragon Yeazun might have struck Jiang Fan. I thought its talent for smashing rocks on the chest could be useful. Since Nine Nether Demon Venerable mentioned it, I'll put it down. Nine Nether Demon Venerable smiled. Forget it, keep it tied on the chest. I also wish to know how much of Azure Dragon Yeazun's talents this little creature inherited. Back then, Azure Dragon Yeazun unleashed her talents and fatally hit an 8-day giant emperor. Hiss. Jiang Fan widened his eyes, looking at the rebellious guy in diapers, shocked. Was its mother that fierce? The talents of rebellious guy could possibly hold great potential at this moment. Upon knowing Nine Nether Demon Venerable's identity, the ancient giant's side caused quite a stir. This is a demon venerable of the disaster realm, with terrifying strength. It could even rival Taikang State's Great Wine Sacrifice, and that individual had killed 3 emperors. Luckily, there was only one of him. The inferior sage at the second Calamity realm held a moonlight sword, lightly saying, "Including you, there are only 5 virtuous realm present. Egg versus stone. We 10 can easily sweep you all away without needing the giant emperors to act." Faces of those from Central Earth darkened once more. Indeed, even with the addition of 9 Nether Demon Venerable, nothing changes. 18-5, still a mismatch. Crack, just then. The sky suddenly ripped open a massive crack spanning the horizon, connecting the heavenly realm. Several streaks of flame descended from the crack in front of Central Earth's human clan. As the flames dissipated, 8 figures stood straight. There were men and women, old and young, varied. Yet every individual carried a merit divine steel glowing with golden light. They were none other than great wine sacrifices of states other than heavenly state. They were all still alive. Aside from unstable aura and cursed injuries, they were in no serious trouble. Great wine sacrifice. Great wine sacrifice? You didn't die? Experts from various states looking at their state's great wine sacrifice felt tremendous excitement. Jiang Fan also noticed Taikang State's great wine sacrifice, unable to restrain his excitement. The presence of great wine sacrifice was like a reassurance, bringing everyone immense comfort. Wan Yun Sage sighed. Thought something happened to you all. With you here, there's finally a glimmer of hope for this battle. Tianluo, Compassionate, and the red-faced elder all breathed a sigh of relief. They never expected to solely rely on 4 sages to oppose the entire heavenly realm's sages. Great wine sacrifice remained their ballast for Central Earth. Jiang Fan came before Taikang State's great wine sacrifice, sensing his unstable aura, generously taking out 100 drops of law wine. Great wine sacrifice, quickly take it. Great wine sacrifice fixed his gaze, slightly surprised. Law wine, where did you get it from? Mid-sentence he paused, as he realized where it came from. A touch of solace and helplessness emerged on his aged face. Indeed it's her, always anticipating the situation. He didn't hesitate, accepted the law wine, consumed one, and distributed the rest among the other 7 great wine sacrifices. They received law wine, surprised, immediately consuming it. After the battle, all their injuries healed. Even the most severely wounded drunken great wine sacrifice with chaotic law, his law rapidly stabilized. The scene surprised the 4 sages from Central Earth. They all landed in front of Jiang Fan. The red-faced sage eyed warmly. Kid, why didn't you speak up earlier if you had this good stuff? Quick, give me a drop too. Jiang Fan realized sages left in Central Earth are mostly injured or have certain limitations. The red-faced elder seemed to harbor injuries. Would he be stingy? He immediately gave him a drop. Tianluo Sage's old eyes shone brightly. Kid, what about my injuries? Jiang Fan didn't quite like this overbearing beggar sage, but he indeed gave him a clump of underarm mud pills. Considering he still needed his help to battle, had no choice but to reluctantly give 1 drop. As for Wan Yun Sage, before he could speak, Jiang Fan gave 1 drop. Wan Yun Sage smiled. Though I'm uninjured, it's like gaining an extra life-saving tool. I owe you a favor. As for Compassionate Sage, Jiang Fan put away the law wine and acted as if it was air. The ancient sage gave you law wine to serve us sages. You dare to use public resources for personal gain, flaunting your power. For the first time, Jiang Fan laid eyes on the real Compassionate Sage. He appeared to be over 80 years old, his skin slightly dark, cheeks gaunt, eyes sunken with a hooked nose. At first glance, he exuded a sense of meanness and ferocity, hard to deal with. This was far from the imagined meaning of compassion in his name. Only now did Jiang Fan realize that the ancient sage's bestowal of the title Compassionate Sage carried a satirical undertone. The ancient sage couldn't care less for someone who entered the realm of sages by exploiting loopholes. Understanding this, he was even less afraid, calmly saying, "If you are dissatisfied, then complain to the ancient sage." The compassionate sage's gaze grew darker still. In the past, at Heavenly Heritage City, he had wanted to deal with Jiang Fan, but the ancient sage stepped in and rebuked him. The ancient sage obviously favored this little brat. The law wine was even entrusted to him for distribution. What use was there in complaining? Wanyan Sage, seeing the situation, said indifferently. The ancient sage himself declared the presence of an unsworn saint to the world, letting him serve you. You truly don't regard the ancient sage. The compassionate sage's face twitched slightly as he hastily glanced at the sky with the corner of his eye. Only when confirming the ancient sage had not descended did he exhale lightly. He did not dare to linger much on the matter of the law wine, only casting a final, longing glance at it. Finally, he gazed deeply at Jiang Fan, silently fading away into the abyss. Jiang Fan remained calm. He naturally knew that bringing out the law wine would attract attention from the virtuous realm and even lead to disasters in the future. However, the disparity in power required encouragement, giving them more confidence to fight without fear of injury. If the compassionate sage fought with his full strength against the giants and was injured in service, Jiang Fan would consider temporarily putting aside personal differences to grant him the law wine. But now was not the time. The compassionate sage's actions needed evaluation. Thunder rumbled, suddenly. From the immense fissure spanning the sky came a deafening roar. Billowing clouds of dust from the heavenly realm surged out from the crack. Amidst the overwhelming dust, an immensely large head loomed in and out. On its forehead were 9 dazzling suns, aligned with the sun above central Earth's 9 heavens. With one glance, it seemed as if 10 suns were soaring. The 9-day giant emperor. He had pursued to central Earth. The powerful ones from central Earth gazed upward in shock. Even across the 9 heavens, his aura couldn't be felt, but the oppressive feeling from those 9 suns weighed heavily on their hearts. The great wine sacrifice had returned. But the 9-day giant emperor had also arrived. The great wine sacrifice would still be held back by the 9-day giant emperor. It was still just the 5 sages of Central Earth against 18 giant emperors and the inferior sages of Central Earth. The appearance of the 9-day giant emperor plunged the people of Central Earth once again into the abyss. Is there truly any hope left for Central Earth? The divinity transformation realm beings asked themselves in their hearts, while several sages also pondered. Once battle commenced, 18 against 5 was not a battle. It was a one-sided slaughter, more tragic than when the 10 sins of Central Earth betrayed 1,000 years ago. The Central Tribe King also looked up, seeing the 9-day giant emperor descending upon Central Earth, and in his giant eye, finally, there was change. He remained passive, waiting for the 9-day giant emperor to arrive. Now, everything was ready. His gaze grew sharp, fixed on the 9 nether demon venerable, and he said indifferently, "Leave 9 nether demon venerable to me. The remaining 4 Central Earth sages and divinity transformation realm are yours. When the sun rises, I don't want to see any Central Earth people standing." The 7 giant emperors beside him. The 10 Central Earth's 10 sins before him. They all simultaneously unleashed the overwhelming spiritual pressure of the virtuous realm. The space they occupied was directly shattered, revealing a massive black void. The Central Tribe King raised his right hand high, calmly staring at the opposing Central Earth strong ones. His right hand swung down heavily as he shouted a command that shook the heavens and earth. Kill. 1,000 years after, the great war between Central Earth and the heavenly realm was thus declared to begin. The decisive battle for the fate of the Central Earth's 9 provinces, countless lives, finally commenced. On one side, there was the 9-day giant emperor dominating all, and below, 18 giant emperors and inferior sages, oppressing invincibly. On the other side were the great wine sacrifice and 5 sages. A completely unequal battle beginning on the vast, ancient land shrouded in dark night. In the darkness of night, Wanyan Sage roared to the heavens, with lofty ambition, feasting on barbarian flesh and bantering, drinking Xianxia blood. Even mortals possess such enviable grandeur, all the more so for us earthly sages. Destroy the giants. Protect all beings. Kill. His eyes revealed a decisive murderous intent. Surrounded by laws, he transformed into a black shadow, charging into the night sky against that unbeatable adversary. He was like a spark rushing towards the firmament. With a feeble body, he pierced the black sky over Central Earth, creating a ray of dawn for all beings over 10,000 years. Tianluo Sage chuckled. A sage must have a sage's responsibilities. Since ancient sages have passed, it's now our generation's turn. Boys, I hope you can hold out until dawn. He too transformed into a shadow, swept towards the towering giant emperors. The red-faced sage drew a hammer and shouldered it, grinning at the 18 giant emperors and inferior sages. I've forged iron for over 1,000 years. Finally, I can strike the giants. I've waited for this day too long. Giant Emperor, Central Earth's 10 sins. Taste the power of my 1,000-year hammer. The iron hammer in his hand exploded with a spiritual pressure far surpassing spiritual artifacts. This was evidently a presence nurtured to the quasi-boundary artifact level. It was the red-faced sage's killing device, prepared for this battle for over 1,000 years. He wielded the hammer, transforming into a shadow charging towards them. Nine Nether Demon Venerable chuckled, sibilant as ever. Just a death, why shout so dramatically? That's why I dislike the human clan. Too noisy. After finishing, he used instantaneous movement, reappearing beyond 3 Central Earth sages, first to reach the giant emperors and inferior sages. Their words still echoed across the earth, interweaving, forming the last requiem for Central Earth's fate. Everyone knew they would die, they knew it themselves, yet they still went forward resolutely. Jiang Fan closed his eyes. Having witnessed the sacrificial suicide of 8 apertures and 9 apertures' nascent souls in Taikang state, he could envision the valorous scene of the 4 sages flying into the fire. A pang of sorrow and unwillingness passed through his heart. Is this truly the fate of Central Earth? Each state fought for so long, sacrificed so many lives, only to face the same destiny. He hated that he wasn't born 100 years earlier. If he could enter the sage rank, he would surely eradicate the giants and end the eternal doom. Regrettably, no what-ifs. Welcoming Central Earth, only endless night. Wenhai Academy. The paper person Xingyuan Venerable gazed at the 9 suns appearing in Central Earth, with a trace of relieved smile on his face. Finally, they came. Academy, his gaze bypassed the invisible barrier at the sage level, landing deep within the academy at Qian Jiao Venerable's chamber. He bowed deeply and said, "Senior, everything has gone as planned. Please make your move." From the chamber came an aged but calm voice. "You have sheltered Qian Jiao and the princely heir for many years, in exchange for one chance for me to act. Are you sure you want to use it in this great battle? If you wish, I can let you enter the realm of sage now." Rumble, deep thunder rolled overhead, as if his words had violated the laws of Central Earth, drawing displeasure from the saints. Xingyuan Venerable's gaze was resolute as he spoke. "Central Earth will be destroyed. What difference does entering sage make? I am willing to trade this chance for a sliver of destiny in Central Earth." The chamber was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "As you wish, but I must remind you from my view, the direction of observing heaven state shows signs of change. You folks in Central Earth may still find it hard to escape total calamity." Xingyuan Venerable's expression changed slightly but quickly steadied. "The junior understands. Please, senior, make your move." From the chamber came a gentle sigh. "All right." On the battlefield, looking at the fearless 4 sages charging, Central Tribe Emperor's face was indifferent. "Courage changes nothing. Kill them." The 7 giant emperors beside him and the 10 sins of Central Earth began to take action. 18 against 4, it was merely a battle of moments. The leader of the inferior sage, second Calamity Realm inferior sage, shook his head. 1,000 years have passed, yet they remain so foolish. I will personally send them on their way. He stepped forward, and destructive power of laws rose like a tsunami. The other 9 sins of Central Earth also sneered sinisterly. "Qingshan, you killed Baekshu and Sword Master back then, garnering endless hatred. Now perhaps it's time for us to reap some hatred." As it turns out, the leader of the 10 sins of Central Earth is known as Qingshan Sage. Qingshan, as the name implies, means a clear and bright sky. He should have been a sage known for eradicating evil, yet he has now become the greatest sinner of Central Earth. It's truly ironic. Qingshan Liuxian hoarsely responded, "All right, come at me." But before the 9 sins of Central Earth could act, the sleeping giant emperor said coldly, "You 10 back off. Our giant emperors will play first." His hatred-filled gaze passed over the 4 sages, sinisterly looking at the great wine sacrifice of Taikang State, also on Jiang Fan. With a face full of ferociousness, "I promised I would make you regret. Now watch carefully how your sages are mercilessly slaughtered by us giant emperors." Hatta-haha. 8 blazing golden suns launched simultaneously. 8 against 4, it was still a one-sided massacre. As the 9-day giant emperor descended rapidly, he locked onto the great wine sacrifices, preventing them from stepping in to assist. They could only watch helplessly as 4 great sages of Central Earth met a violent end under the siege of the giant emperors. The darkest moment for Central Earth has come. But, just at the moment when the 4 sages of Central Earth and the giant emperors clashed, there came the sound of hooves from the direction of Manhwa Academy. Clearly, it was an ordinary sound, yet each hoofbeat felt as if it stomped on everyone's heart, regardless of divinity transformation realm or sage realm, whether it was the first calamity or the second calamity. A shivering sensation spread from the depths of their souls to the surface of their bodies. The ferocious giant emperors halted, their huge vertical eyes looking suspiciously into the distance. The descending 9-day giant emperor suddenly stopped, his head raised, the 9 suns orbiting defensively. The 4 sages also ceased abruptly, looking back in suspicion. An imminent decisive battle stopped amidst the leisurely sound of hooves, like pouring ice cubes into boiling water. The world was eerily silent. Everyone was panic-stricken at the center of the hoofbeats, not daring to breathe. Jiang Fan swallowed lightly, his heart filled with doubt as he gazed toward Manhwa Academy. What was that? When did Hunyuan State possess such a transcendent existence? Was it on Central Earth's side, or had the heavenly realm stealthily lay it in Central Earth beforehand? Amidst the silent world, the sound of hooves grew clearer. A patch of blood-red Xianxia gradually appeared at the edge of the world. Gradually, the entire expanse was dyed red. The battlefield was also reflected in a crimson hue. In the end, the entire sky was stained with blood. The blood-red light overshadowed the gold of the giant emperor's bodies, plunging the world into a sea of blood. Finally, they understood what the blood-red Xianxia truly was. That was not Xianxia at all, but a surging blood sea instead. Instantly, the heavens seemed like a sea, the earth like blood. Thundering hoofbeats stepped into the blood sea, like shocking thunder in the 9 skies, shaking the entire Hunyuan State. Until the hoofbeats reached above the battlefield, everyone was shaken and unstable from the thunderous hoofbeats. The 4 sages of Central Earth, the 8 emperors of the heavenly realm, and the 10 sins were all knocked back to the ground. It seemed not to permit any creature to violate the heavenly might within the blood sea. Snorting, the heavy snorts of strange beasts were heard. Thick blood sea parted to reveal a gap, exposing this supreme existence. That was a black azure dragon. No, it was entirely 9 azure dragons. They were bound by rusty black chains, pulling an ancient bronze war chariot behind. The chariot was stained with ancient, unknown blood, retaining terrible traces. The curtains of the chariot window swayed gently. An old man with white whiskers and clad in black armor was seated inside. His eyes were slightly closed, his face serene, yet exuded a commanding presence without anger. Like a commander overseeing countless creatures, having endured a battle of annihilation. Gulp! The sleeping giant emperor instinctively swallowed, making a faint sound. Yet in the deathly silent world, this sound was as clear as a bell. The old commander's eyelashes trembled as he slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes were dry like ancient wells, with little shine, as if near the end. However, when he glanced sideways out of the curtain overlooking the earth, the ground of Hunyuan State exploded instantly, revealing a 9-colored world barrier. This was only a glance. The vast battlefield fell into dead silence, universally terrified, above Kingaming. The 9-day giant emperor shouted urgently, even somewhat panicked. He is a sage at the peak of 3 calamities. No, incorrect. He is a suppressed realm saint person. Run! As the final word was spoken, the 9-day giant emperor soared into the sky, fleeing toward the heavenly realm. The 9 suns on his forehead spun rapidly. In front of a saint, a sage is nothing but floating debris. Central Tribe Emperor's expression changed dramatically, decisively fleeing in other directions. The sleeping giant emperor and others showed terror, dispersing in escape. Just his appearance scared the giant emperors into panic. The old commander gazed indifferently at the 9-day giant emperor. I wished for peace, but you were too noisy. Patter, 9 azure dragons began their stride, pulling the bronze war chariot charging towards the 9-day giant emperor. Simultaneously, the old commander looked through the chariot window, glancing at several slightly slow-reacting giant emperors still within sight. Bang, bang, bang. In the next moment, their massive bodies burst apart without any warning, transforming into golden light blood mist, sprinkling across the world. Giant emperors have fallen just like that. all under the gaze of the old commander, their form and spirit annihilated. The central Earth side was drenched in golden blood rain, and they were stunned. The central tribe emperor, the sleeping giant emperor, and another two-son giant emperor who narrowly escaped were also left in shock. This was an attack infinitely close to that of a saint, even while suppressing its realm. It was easier than crushing ants, because to kill ants, you at least need to step on them or press them with fingers. But a saint only needs a glance to kill a giant emperor. Suddenly, from the ends of the heavens came the 9-day giant emperor's shrill scream. Soon, the scream abruptly ceased. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Then, the sound of 9 azure dragons' hoofs reverberated once more between heaven and earth. The indifferent voice of the old commander resonated throughout the realms. Central Earth people, tell Xingyuan Venerable that the mission is completed. Since I have intervened, Central Earth cannot linger. Parting is inevitable. Sizzle, the sky was shattered by the 9 azure dragons, breaking through the colorful barrier of the world. The ancient war chariot sped through the gap, vanishing into the boundless void. As the void closed, the sky full of blood sea dissipated. The people remained in a state of great shock, unable to recover for a long time, because this was the closest they had ever been to witnessing a saint's intervention in their lifetimes. They were at a loss for words to describe their feelings. Any adjectives to describe today's sight seemed pale and powerless, until a long while later. Jiang Fan took a deep breath, his eyes shining brightly. Central Earth is saved. Everyone gradually came to their senses. Only then did they realize that the level of sages in Central Earth and the heavenly realm had undergone a dramatic reversal. The life or death of the 9-day giant emperor was unknown, leaving him unable to fight. This meant that the 8 great wine sacrifices were completely freed to join the grand battle. 5 sages and 8 great wine sacrifices, making a total of 13. From the heavenly realm side, 3 giant emperors and 3 inferior sages from Central Earth, which is also 13. Coincidentally, the heavenly realm has the 6th-son giant emperor, the 2nd calamity inferior sage, and Central Earth has the 2nd calamity great wine sacrifice and the 9 nether demon venerable. The numbers were perfectly matched. More importantly, Central Earth's side had the law wine, allowing quick healing. In contrast, the heavenly realm side may not have this advantage. The 6th-son giant emperor stabilized his heart's spirit from initial panic. The intervention by the saint dealt a huge blow to the heavenly realm side. Yet the heavenly realm still held an absolute advantage. He coldly commanded, 3 armies heed the order. 3 well-organized armies, totaling 120 giant kings, simultaneously drew their golden wolf fang clubs, full of murderous intent. Exterminate every living being on this land. Leave no chickens or dogs alive. Since the sage level is balanced, the final victory is determined on the divinity transformation realm level. If the final outcome is that Central Earth wipes out the heavenly realm's giant king army, further battles between giant emperors and the 10 sins of Central Earth would be meaningless. This great final battle ultimately rests upon them at the divinity transformation realm. Jiang Fan was filled with fighting spirit. Though they only had 100 at the divinity transformation realm, while the heavenly realm had as many as 120 in number. Nonetheless, since Xingyuan Venerable had enlisted the help of a saint, they already have the greatest chance. If they cannot seize it, then Central Earth deserves to perish. The morale of the crowd was also high. The ice and fire demon lord came to Jiang Fan's side, the divine ring at the back of his head having recovered to 3 flame marks. One of them was restored by the ice origin original star that Jiang Fan bestowed upon him. Another should have been aided by the 9 nether demon venerable. Kid, did you think I had run away? The ice and fire demon lord said with a half-smile. He had promised Jiang Fan that he would help Taikang State resist the ancient giants. But he only arrived today. Jiang Fan nodded and said, Taikang State fought 3 battles in a row, each more desperate than the last. I once thought it would be great if you came back. But luckily you didn't come back alone. Instead, you returned with the 9 nether demon venerable. You didn't help just Taikang State, but the entire Central Earth. The ice and fire demon lord looked apologetic and said, I was also caught in a situation beyond my control. At that time, with your help, anchoring Hunyuan State during space transport, I survived. Afterwards, I left Hunyuan State and went to Heavenly State. Jiang Fan was surprised, his face showing confusion. Why did he go to Heavenly State? The ice and fire demon lord continued. I was almost killed by the Usura Saint's son. How could I swallow this anger? So I went to Heavenly State, rallied my old forces to investigate suspicious individuals related to the Usura Saint's son. Jiang Fan suddenly realized. No wonder he didn't return. He went to seek revenge. Moreover, the Ice and Fire Demon Lord was originally a figure of Heavenly State, initially coming to Taikang State to hunt down the evil crow Venerable. And then, Jiang Fan asked with a slight stir in his heart, could it be that the Ice and Fire Demon Lord already found out who it was? Unexpectedly, the Ice and Fire Demon Lord replied gravely, I underestimated the Usura Saint's son. His current prestige is astounding, and all of Central Earth is filled with his followers. Even among my old subordinates, there are those loyal to him. Jiang Fan's face also changed slightly. The Usura Saint's son's prestige is that strong now. He glanced skeptically at Tianluo Sage, who, with his 100-patched robe, unkempt hair, and stinky body, could possibly have such great prestige. Then he looked at Wanyan Sage, who seemed more plausible. However, since he had previously rushed suicidally toward the giants, that wasn't something an Usura Saint's heir might do, was it? The only one he hadn't met, the ancient Zen Buddha Venerable, now seemed the most suspect. This person, situated in Heavenly State, a Buddha venerate in the realm of Buddhism, with a wide-reaching reputation and countless followers. Coincidentally, Jinlin's wife, the Golden Snake Saint Mother, met her end due to the trickery of the Usura Saint's son when she went to Heavenly State seeking someone. The suspicion on this ancient Zen Buddha Venerable was simply enormous. Once the battle ended, it was necessary to make a trip to Heavenly State to thoroughly investigate this mysterious Buddha venerate. He gathered his thoughts and asked, were you betrayed by your old subordinates afterward? The Ice and Fire Demon Lord nodded. While I was outside, I was targeted by the Usura Saint's son. His schemes cast me into the void. I was doomed to drift in the void for over half a month, thinking I was headed for certain death. But who would have thought I'd be sensed by the 9 Nether Demon Venerable, who was traversing the void? He was bringing a group of strong beings nurtured in the void back to Central Earth, and happened to encounter me, Jiang Fan realized. Over the years, it was said the 9 Nether Demon Venerable traveled in the void. Yet in actuality, he left because Central Earth was depleted by the 1,000-year war, leaving no resources to birth strong beings. So he went beyond the realm, using external resources to cultivate strong beings. Thus, he could bring back over 30 powerful demon lords. This force was what prevented the divinity transformation realm level from becoming an utterly crushed situation. Recalling Jiang Wuya, who sacrificed himself to trap 300 ancient giants, winning the crucial opportunity for the first battle at Taikang State. The heavenly listening bodhisattva fed himself to the demons, single-handedly turning the tide of a doomed battle. The Jiangshan first-class building owner played along with the plot, luring 3 giant emperors to the lower realm, successfully killing them and laying the foundation for parity at the sage level today. Xingyuan Venerable endured for years, securing a single intervention from a saint, reversing the tide. The 9 Nether Demon Venerable had been planning for today years in advance, even securing hope for victory at the divinity transformation level. Each and every one of them quietly contributed invaluable opportunities for Central Earth's destiny. Without even one of them, Central Earth would be a different scene entirely. It was their efforts that won today's dawn for Central Earth. Jiang Fan clenched his fists. So many bore the fate of Central Earth on their shoulders. How could they possibly lose this battle? Even in death, they must bring their enemies down with them. Update at this moment. An even more powerful light burst out from Jiang Fan's heavenly thunder stone. It's the ancient token. Jiang Fan's expression changed slightly. Was this a signal for him to hurry? Why now of all times? No. Wait a little longer. 100 against 120, the gap is still wide. He must use the path of perfection as much as possible to eliminate some giant kings for Central Earth, creating some favorable conditions. No more waiting. The battle must start quickly. Fortunately, the 6-Sun Giant Emperor, anxious that a formidable figure might emerge from Central Earth, ordered to start to avoid unnecessary delays. Kill, a cry that tore through the sky announced the showdown's complete start. Sages and the Giant Emperor from both sides were the first to make a move. With a whoosh, 25 figures from both sides vanished simultaneously, unleashing terrifying laws and curse power in the sky. Centered around the connecting sky-black pillar, a 10,000-mile radius of sky became their main battleground. Yet, the compassionate sage hesitated for a long time, unwilling to rush into the battlefield. Not until scolded by the great wine sacrifice did he reluctantly enter. Jiang Fan saw this and couldn't help but feel disgusted. This old thing. The four sages of Central Earth had bravely charged at the enemy without fear of death. He alone was too afraid to advance. This was not just similar to the past evil crow venerable, it was exactly the same. He had no doubt if the four sages died in battle, he would surrender immediately. Sure, fearing death he could understand. But now, with the sages of Central Earth having the upper hand, this old thing was still hesitant to join. You could imagine, even if he joined the battle, he wouldn't dare to fight with all his strength, only focusing on self-preservation. This kind of sage, who takes up space but doesn't do anything worthwhile, what's the use of keeping him? But Jiang Fan couldn't spare time for him, as the battle at the divinity transformation realm had already begun. A king from the central tribe led his army and launched the first attack. "Eighth army of the central tribe, follow me to kill." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 40 giant kings shot towards the human clan in unison. 2 other armies also moved. The central tribe's massive army, like a chain of towering mountains, charged forward under the roars of 3 giant kings. In an instant, dust rose in all directions and battle cries filled the sky. The Central Earth side, led by several great venerates, instantly moved to meet the enemy. With a chaotic battle involving more than 200, there was no detailed strategy to be discussed. It was all about the numbers and strength of both sides. The strong survive to the end, the weak die on the battlefield. Of course, killing each other's leaders was common sense. Therefore, the human clans Bingxin, Jinlin, Wan Bing, Star Mountain Master, Jiangshan First-Class Building Owner, and Heavenly Remnant City Lord first targeted the 3 5-star giant kings on the other side. 6 against 3, the clash instantly erupted with world-destroying waves, second only to the sages. Their figures couldn't be captured, only the sky tore into a cobweb-like void again and again. One web disappeared, and another sky appeared. Next, the heavenly person 4 declines and the 4-star giant king, the 3 declines and 3-star, the 2 declines and 2-star also engaged in fierce collisions. Overall, the giant kings at each level outnumbered those of Central Earth, especially at the level of heavenly human decline and 1-star giant king. There were only 70 heavenly human declines, but 80 1-star giant kings, a full 10 more. So soon after the fight began, a divinity transformation realm expert from Holy Spirit State was besieged by 3 giant kings. His fists struggled to resist 6 hands, and the domain he released just scattered 1 giant king's source when the other 2, with seamless cooperation, shattered his divine ring and body one after another. Then, amidst a miserable scream, he was torn apart and devoured by the 2 giant kings, unable even to let his soul escape. Jiang Fan couldn't help but be solemn. With both sides having similar strength, even one more opponent was a huge threat. Not to mention a full 10 more. These 10 giant kings, no matter where they joined the fray, would spell doom for the human clan's divinity transformation realm. At the same time, they would free up new giant king power. The more this continued, the more apparent human clan's disadvantage would become. Luckily, with the presence of human clan sages, they dared not use the blood pool. For once it was brought out, it would surely be blasted away by human clan sages along with its people, no matter the cost. Otherwise, this chaotic battle would end in utter disaster. Jiang Fan saw this, anxiety gripping his heart. He had to swiftly eliminate the numerical advantage of the giant kings. What also worried him was the increasingly urgent reaction of the ancient token within the heavenly thunder stone. Forced transmission wasn't far off. Suddenly, a sorrowful scream sounded from not far away. Peering over, it was Vice Palace Master Yu under attack by 2 2-star giant kings. She had just advanced to heavenly human 2 declines, struggling to handle one, let alone being attacked from both sides. She was caught off guard, her abdomen pierced, and her neck was strangled by another 2-star giant king's long tongue. As it seemed her head would be ripped off, Jiang Fan decisively intervened from afar. Soul Hook, with a swish, the long chain with Iron Claw ignored space, penetrating directly into the opponent. The Iron Claw pierced its soul, causing the 2-star giant king to painfully release Vice Palace Master Yu. It instead turned to channel star power, launching its source at Jiang Fan from afar. But Jiang Fan wouldn't give it the chance. With a thought, the long chain swiftly retracted. It must be said, the soul is indeed one of the giant's few weaknesses. That 2 phases realm half-giant took Jiang Fan some effort to barely pull its soul out. But facing the 2-star giant king now didn't feel difficult. A pitch-black soul was forcibly dragged out. It cried out in panic, "Wait, don't kill me, I can't have my soul detached, I can't." Its frightened voice abruptly stopped. As the soul was pulled out, it burst into black mist on the spot and vanished into the void. However, its tragic cry drew the attention of surrounding giant kings. Logically, they should have angrily charged over, but after recognizing it was Jiang Fan, they strangely kept their distance from him. Jiang Fan felt a tinge of doubt. Could it be they knew of his current prowess? That shouldn't be. His actions in Taikang State shouldn't be known to the three central armies. "Kid, many thanks. Vice Palace Master, you was full of gratitude having survived the ordeal." Jiang Fan said, "Take care, Vice Palace Master, you." To aid Taikang State, Dan State had lost 2 venerates. How could he bear to see Vice Palace Master you fall too? So he didn't hesitate to expend soul power to use Soul Hook once. According to his soul power, he could use it about 5 times a day. After killing the 2 phases realm half-giant earlier, he'd already used it twice. He could still use it 3 more times. Decisively, he summoned the 3-colored divine rainbow. Scanning quickly, he found Usura King Mingyi not far away, besieged by 4 giant kings. Though he had obtained a Hell Abyss crystal, like Jiang Fan, due to recent breakthroughs, he couldn't make a second breakthrough in the short term. So he remained at Heavenly Human 1 decline. Moreover, the Usura clan naturally attracted the attention of giant kings. This was evident in earlier battles too. Without a word, Jiang Fan rushed to aid him, not forgetting to admonish Princess Zai Jiang following closely. "Kill them with all your might." Princess Zai Jiang, momentarily stunned by the many giant kings like herself all around, nodded quickly at his words. "Got it, brother Jiang Fan." Update: the 2 quickly rushed to the fight. The power of the Dayan sword array was incomparable, instantly slaying a giant king. The Purple Jade Princess, who was only 8 feet tall, displayed astonishing agility and reached the battlefield even before Jiang Fan. With lightning speed, she grasped the neck of a giant king. With a strong pull, she removed its head along with its spinal cord. Scalding giant blood drenched her completely. It seemed to trigger something, causing her pupils to tremble slightly. But she cleverly concealed her emotions and immediately leaped towards another giant king. Jiang Fan followed closely, once more using a sword array to slay one. The Purple Jade Princess simultaneously crushed the heart of a giant king. The scorching giant king blood once again made her feel something unusual. The Usura King Ming Yi, panting, clutching his side which had a big chunk bitten out, cursed. "These damned giant kings, still thinking this is a grand hunt, targeting me specifically." Jiang Fan twitched his mouth, threw him a heavenly clothes divine water and said, "Be careful." "Zijiang, let's go." He locked onto a small battlefield where 2 giant kings were besieging 1 person. The Purple Jade Princess snapped out of her odd feeling and quickly responded, "Yes, I'm coming, brother Jiang Fan." Jiang Fan possessed the combat power of the Heavenly Human 2 declines, and the Purple Jade Princess was nearly invincible among the 1-star giant kings. The 2 making a move, easily slaughtered 2 giant kings. In a short time, 6 giant kings fell by their hands. This battle situation immediately caught the attention of 3 5-star giant kings. A giant king of the 8th Army showed a murderous look. "Send a 3-star giant king to kill him." This person's threat was even greater than the Heavenly Human 2 declines. Letting it develop, the consequences would be unimaginable. Suddenly, a 3-star giant king besieging the misfortune god Steel turned and rushed over. Jiang Fan's expression changed slightly. He could barely handle a 3-star giant king, but time waits for no one. He had no time to tussle with it. The ancient token could forcefully teleport him away at any moment, and the battlefield situation still had Central Earth at a disadvantage. However, just as the 3-star giant king began to move, the depths of heaven and earth suddenly darkened. Then, the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper appeared and fiercely smashed down. The 3-star giant king didn't even have time to react before being crushed into a meat pie. Then the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper turned sharply and smashed into the void. Poof! A 5-star giant king, distracted while commanding, was blasted, coughing up blood and flying backward. A beauty in a long ice-white dress appeared, snorting, "Daring to be distracted while fighting me?" Saying this, she once again manipulated the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper to pursue. The remaining 2 giant kings then fell into an encirclement of Wan Bing, Binkson, Jinlin, the Jiangshan first-class building owner, and the Heavenly Heritage City Lord. Although it was 5 against 2, the Jiangshan first-class building owner was injured and could only assist. and the Heavenly Heritage City Lord had not been able to deliver powerful damage. Main reliance was on the three great venerates, Wan Bing, Bingson, and Jinlin, experienced in battle. The Heavenly Heritage City Lord scanned the battlefield, then said in a deep voice, "Leave those two to you, I'll assist the others." The Golden Scale Venerate also noticed the dangerous situation of the human clan's divinity transformation realm. Although Jiang Fan and the Purple Jade Princess had collectively killed 6 giant kings, alleviating the crisis of the heavenly human decline divinity transformation realm temporarily. However, the 4-star, 3-star, and 2-star divinity transformation realm warriors were also trapped in dangerous situations, with 30% more enemies than themselves. Indeed, a powerful venerate was needed to relieve the battlefield. Certainly, the remaining 4 of them were enough to handle these 2 giant kings. The Golden Scale Venerate didn't overthink and said, "Go ahead." The Heavenly Heritage City Lord decisively withdrew from the battlefield to aid other layers. Jiang Fan and the Purple Jade Princess, with no one to entangle them, once again teamed up to fight additional giant kings. Wherever the heavenly human Decline Strong had been besieged, he swiftly rushed there. In the vast battlefield, the two weaved back and forth. Where they passed, a giant king would surely fall. After a cup of tea, they again jointly killed 10 giant kings. Adding up, 16 one-star giant kings had been slain. During this period, more than a few Central Earth Divinity Transformation Realm fighters also fell. Therefore, although Jiang Fan killed 16, many in Central Earth also fell. The number of both sides barely managed to reach parity, and the scene of many against one was no longer visible. But this was not enough. As both sides fought to the end, even if Central Earth emerged victorious, the Divinity Transformation Realm fighters would be severely diminished. Though a win, it would be a bitter victory. He wanted to create a greater advantage for Central Earth, making their victory easier and ending the battle quicker. He put away his sword array, taking a deep breath, feeling a sense of depletion. Even as a Divinity Transformation Realm warrior, incessantly using the sword array started to take its toll. But it didn't matter. After such prolonged fighting, there was hardly a giant king left unscathed. This meant his flawless domain was about to play its greatest role. He was somewhat expectant, wondering what tragic state those injured 1-star and 2-star giant kings would be in when he triggered his domain wherever he went. How would the situation reverse? "Red Dust Venerable, save me!" A slightly familiar cry for help came. Turning his head, he saw the Purple Forbidden Venerable, who had just advanced to the Heavenly Human 2 Declines, being attacked by 2 2-star giant kings. His body was dismembered, and his soul escaped in time from the flesh. However, one of the 2-star giant kings was a soul giant king. Before the Purple Forbidden Venerable could escape into the void, he was bound midair by soul power. The 2 2-star giant kings greedily shot their long tongues to snatch the soul. Jiang Fan's expression changed rapidly. The Great Wilderness State had only the Red Dust Venerable and the Purple Forbidden Venerable left fighting. If he fell, only the Red Dust Venerable would remain in the Great Wilderness State. "Zhejiang!" While instructing the Purple Jade Princess, he decisively launched a soul attack, targeting one of the 2-star giant kings. In an instant, the Iron Claw long lock flew out. Unprepared, the enemy was caught and forcibly pulled out on the spot. The result was self-evident, exploding immediately. However, the Purple Jade Princess hesitated for some reason and didn't act in time. This caused the Purple Forbidden Venerable's soul to be ensnared by the tongue of the other 2-star giant king. With a swoosh, it was drawn into its mouth, seeing it about to close its jaws and swallow him down. Jiang Fan's eyes turned cold, noting the opponent's wounds inflicted by demonic qi. Ignoring the cost of using a domain, he promptly activated it. The divine disc behind him flickered abruptly. The flawless domain instantly enveloped the 2-star giant king. The wounds on its body spread all over, with chunks of flesh continuously rotting. The sudden change caused it to instinctively howl in pain. Seizing this opportunity, Jiang Fan once again initiated a soul hook, pulling out its soul. Bang! As its soul shattered, the rotting body of the 2-star giant king fell heavily to the ground. Jiang Fan hurried forward, prying open the giant king's mouth. Seeing the Purple Forbidden Venerable was still alive, he finally exhaled a long sigh of relief. He took out the ghost soul crystal and said, "Friend Purple Forbidden, hide in here for now. I'll release you again once the battle subsides." Currently amidst intense melee combat, a soul alone might not escape the battlefield. The Purple Forbidden Venerable was grateful to tears, especially noticing Jiang Fan's slightly pale complexion, evident of soul depletion, even more appreciative. Words cannot express my gratitude for this great kindness. After speaking, he fled into the ghost soul crystal. Thump thump, the purple jade princess quickly ran over looking anxious and said, "I'm sorry, I lost my focus." Fan glanced at her but didn't say much. Instead, he surveyed the battlefield of the 4-star, 3-star, and 2-star combatants, his expression steady. What's happening? Didn't the Heavenly Remnant City Lord take action? Why hasn't their situation changed at all? No, it hasn't stayed the same. It's become even more dangerous. Because after such a long battle, their casualties, as few fighting against many, are substantial. In contrast, the Giant King's numerical advantage continues to grow. This makes their situation even more perilous. Scenes of one facing many are everywhere. If this continues, the levels from Heavenly Human 2 declines to 4 declines will face a great defeat. What is the Heavenly Remnant City Lord actually doing? Jiang Fan looked around. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord wasn't hard to find. On the battlefield, there were either humans over half a zhang tall or giant kings over 20 zhang tall. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord, standing 9 zhang tall, was particularly conspicuous on the battlefield. Jiang Fan quickly saw him. But what made Jiang Fan's eyes blaze with anger was that the Heavenly Remnant City Lord was actually evenly matched with a 4-star giant king. Yes, he wasn't seeing wrong. The 5 Phases Realm Heavenly Remnant City Lord was sparring with a 4-star giant king. There is a chasm between Heavenly Human 2 declines and 1 decline. When the Heart Demon Venerable breaks through to 2 declines, he becomes a senior in the eyes of those at 1 decline. Not to mention a great venerate of Heavenly Human 5 declines against a 4-star giant king. It should have been a 1-move kill. Yet here they are sparring. Recalling the atmosphere felt when he invaded Heavenly Heritage City in the past, it seemed they all prided themselves on possessing ancient giant bloodline. That conquering heaven general deserved to die 1,000 deaths for following the ancestors' great hunts, slaughtering in the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss, learning to hunt. They never considered themselves people of Central Earth. Instead, they regard ancient giants as ancestors. In the current battle, how could they possibly kill ancient giants? What made Jiang Fan's eyes blaze with fury even more? Not only was the Heavenly Remnant City Lord stalling for time, but he also occasionally surveyed the surroundings. When he noticed a battlefield where the Giant King was in a disadvantaged position, he'd secretly act to help him resolve the crisis. No wonder the situation from Heavenly Human 2 declines to 4 declines is getting increasingly dangerous. As it turned out, it was this old thief, the Heavenly Remnant City Lord, secretly aiding them. This also explained why he wanted to leave the Heavenly Human 5 declines battlefield. Because he saw Jiang Fan and Princess Zai Jiang wreaking havoc everywhere and worried the Giant Kings wouldn't hold. So he came sneakily to aid them. Damn it! Jiang Fan used instantaneous movement to rush over, his face cold as ice. I always knew you half-giants are traitors who hit the people that feed you. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's complexion changed slightly. He quickly pretended to blast away the 4-star Giant King, saying sternly, "Don't spew nonsense. Do you know how hard it is to kill a 4-star Giant King, you heavenly person, decline fool? Get out of the way, don't obstruct me as City Lord in killing the enemy. Otherwise, I'll convict you of treason and kill you right here." Ha ha ha. Jiang Fan laughed angrily, still trying to turn the tables, the murderous intent in his eyes no longer concealed. Since you love your ancestors so much, go die with them. With a flip of his palm, a jade box appeared. Inside was a foul-smelling mud clump, unexpectedly the law of Tianluo sage. Go! With a toss, the mud clump exploded, turning into fine powder spaced a zhang apart, forming a giant net 100 zhang across. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's face changed dramatically. He roared angrily. Jiang Fan, how dare you? Jiang Fan pressed his palm downward. The giant net suddenly descended, simultaneously enveloping the Heavenly Remnant City Lord and the 4-star Giant King. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's eyes rolled with anger, reluctant to use the Dharma he held back against the 4-star Giant King, finally exhibited it. 5 giant phantoms, all aimed at the giant net, trying to blast it away. But this net contains laws. How can a Dharma break it? The 5 giant phantoms were instantly crushed by the net. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's heart spirit was affected. He spat a mouthful of blood, his face showing panic, only then realizing the net came from a sage. He dared not resist anymore. With a push of his legs, he bounced away. Strangely, although the net was only 100 zhang, no matter how far he bounced, the net followed like a shadow. Compassionate sage? The heavenly remnant city lord's face changed dramatically. He shouted in alarm, then was enveloped by the net. Enveloped along with him was the 4-star giant king. Then the net contracted, binding the two together, landing at Jiang Fan's feet. Indeed, it was a sage's law. The power was far beyond ordinary carvings. Even a 5-phases realm great venerate had no resistance at all. Jiang Fan, you deserve to die 1,000 deaths. The heavenly remnant city lord roared murderously through the net. Jiang Fan responded with even stronger murderous intent. It's traitors like you who deserve to die. With a grasp of his palm, a jade box holding tattered cloth pieces appeared in his hand. He crushed the jade box, letting the tattered cloth pieces drift toward them. The space was flattened into a cloth-width crack wherever it passed. The heavenly remnant city lord's pupils shrunk dramatically, realizing the cloth's menace. In a crisis, he steeled within. He painfully twisted his body, placing the 4-star giant king on top. Heavenly remnant city lord, what are you doing? Don't you want our giant's protection? The tattered cloth pressed down, the 4-star giant king had no resistance, directly exploded. The cloth's momentum persisted, pressing onto the heavenly remnant city lord. Crack, his bones shattered on the spot, his incredibly tough flesh burst open. Under the mysterious cloth's heavy pressure, he had no resistance. A little beast, the heavenly remnant city lord screamed miserably. Right then, a furious snort came from the sky as the compassionate sage sternly shouted, "Youngster, how long will you flaunt your power?" A wave of law power followed closely. Wanyan sage snorted, "Compassion, focus here, you're still distracted by the outside world." He also took a moment to unleash a wave of law power. The two strong laws collided in midair, shattered. The dispersed shockwaves swept around, triggering endless cracks. If hitting Jiang Fan, the outcome would be clear. However, due to that trace of law's influence, the falling tattered cloth halted briefly. The heavenly remnant city lord seized the moment to roll and escape. Meanwhile, the net law on him also dissipated at that moment. He hastily swallowed a handful of healing spirit pills, restoring his almost collapsed body. His eyes filled with overwhelming killing intent shot at Jiang Fan, roaring. "Your end is near!" Boom. But before he could act, a golden giant python phantom came crashing across the void. The heavenly remnant city lord, caught off guard, was blasted backward. He looked up to see the golden scale venerate leaving the battlefield, his eyes bursting with icy light. "Heavenly remnant city lord, you're seeking death!" Ice Heart Venerate, Wan Bing Venerate, and Jiangshan First Class building owner all paused, casting their gazes. Even Ice Heart Venerate, with a simple nature, frowned, showing an angry expression. They quickly scanned what has happened below, figuring out most of it. This traitorous person, tasked with helping his own people, he secretly aids the giants instead. Not only did they become angry, the sages were also furious. Wanyan Sage snorted, "Compassion, it's up to you. If you're reluctant to act, I'll do it for you." The anger of everyone shifted from the city lord of heavenly remnant to compassionate sage. Because if it weren't for compassionate sage repeatedly shielding the half-giants to draw their merits, this group of half-giants would have perished long ago, 1,000 years back. How could it continue to this day, repeatedly stirring divine and human ire? Compassionate sage is the real culprit. The target of everyone's criticism, compassionate sage finally couldn't sit still and began to scold. "City Lord of Heavenly Remnant, kill the enemies properly for me. Neglect your duties again, and I will personally behead you. Fellow Taoists, please give the City Lord of Heavenly Remnant another chance." Given how things were said to this extent, could the sages in the midst of the great battle really turn against the City Lord of Heavenly Remnant? If they truly angered compassionate sage into abandoning them, the battle's strength between the sages would become unbalanced. An additional giant emperor can commence a devastating massacre on the divinity transformers of Central Earth. Wanyan Sage heavily snorted. "City Lord of Heavenly Remnant, listen well. If in this battle you do not kill 10 giant kings, I will personally destroy you, sending you to meet your ancient giant ancestors." Jiang Fan was instantly displeased upon hearing this. Why should the City Lord of Heavenly Remnant be given opportunities? But he also understood the importance of compassionate sage. He looked up at Kingaming and said coldly, "Compassion, pray that this bunch of half-giants won't cause trouble. Otherwise, you won't escape blame." Then his sharp gaze focused on the City Lord of Heavenly Remnant, whose face was as gloomy as water, full of coldness. "Are you deaf? Why aren't you going to kill the Giant King? Don't know how to kill? Come, I'll teach you. His gaze swept over, landing on a two-star giant king who was fiercely engaged in battle not far away. There was a deep bone visible scar on its neck. Jiang Fan directly activated a domain, locking him in place. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant's expression changed. He opened his mouth to warn, but under the glaring eyes of the Great Venerate and the sages, swallowed the words back. Needless to say the result. The wound on the neck of the two-star giant king immediately intensified and burst forth, the neck swiftly rotting away. The massive head fell to the ground with a resounding thud. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant secretly clenched his fists, glaring at Jiang Fan, eyes full of anger. Jiang Fan looked skyward and said, "You all saw it right. He simply can't bear to leave his bunch of ancestors. Send him underground for a reunion with his ancestors." Only then did the city lord of Heavenly Remnant retract his angry gaze and turn to the other giant kings. Gritting his teeth, he charged towards a battlefield with a Heavenly Human 2 Declines and two-star giant king. This was a newly promoted Heavenly Human 2 Declines from Dan State, besieged by two-star giant kings in a perilous situation. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant leapt over, and with a painful palm strike, shattered a two-star giant king. The other one's face changed drastically, turning to flee. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant didn't pursue, intending to spare his opponent. Just as the other had escaped a few steps, Jiang Fan suddenly teleported over. Flawless domain! For the third time, he deployed the domain, re-triggering the opponent's injuries, leaving him in unbearable pain. The Venerable of Heaven and Human 2 Declines from Dan State seized the opportunity, slaying him with a palm strike. Many thanks to Starfair Venerable for assistance, Jiang Fan chuckled. You should thank the city lord of Heavenly Remnant instead. He's surely bleeding in his heart. The Venerable of Heaven and Human 2 Declines froze for a moment, then hastily cupped his hands in thanks to the city lord of Heavenly Remnant. Thanks also to the city lord of Heavenly Remnant. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant glaring at Jiang Fan with flaming eyes, as if wanting to devour him whole. Jiang Fan smirked, 1 down, 9 more to go. The city lord has a heavy road to walk. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant's face remained gloomy and silent, scanning his surroundings. Realizing the 4-star and 3-star giant kings were directly overlooked, he was only searching for 2-star giant kings. This way, he could maximize the preservation of the giant's strength while stifling the Central Earth's complaints. He really was doing his best. However, just as he was about to teleport over, Jiang Fan acted first. Flawless domain! For the 4th time, he activated the flawless domain, triggering the opponent's injury. Though it didn't immediately explode to death, their combat power was greatly reduced. The Central Earth's divinity transformer fighting with him seized the opportunity to slay him. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant was burning with rage, yet again locking onto another 2-star giant king. But as soon as he locked onto him, Jiang Fan activated the flawless domain for the 5th time, aiding his opponent in killing another 2-star giant king. Consecutively killing 4 2-star giant kings, the pressure at this level of divinity transformation realm was drastically reduced. Jiang Fan stared at the city lord of Heavenly Remnant, coldly declaring, "The level of the Heavenly Human 2 Declines, I can handle it. City lord, go kill the 3-star and 4-star giant kings." The city lord of Heavenly Remnant was filled with hatred and resentment. Jiang Fan had seen through his thoughts, blocked his way out, forcing him to truly kill his enemies. "Jiang Fan, let's wait and see," the city lord of Heavenly Remnant yelled in anger. Forced and helpless, he could only target the 3-star and 4-star giant kings. The power of the 5 phases realm crushed them absolutely, and with each attack, a 3-star or 4-star giant king would fall. City lord of Heavenly Remnant, how dare you be so ruthless and heartless to our heavenly realm? We've been so considerate of your Heavenly Remnant city, never harming one of your half-giants, and in the end, you're still cooperating with the Central Earth's human clan. The roars of the giant kings burst out. The city lord of Heavenly Remnant was in an indefensible position, deeply aware that, after this battle, they the half-giants had completely lost the ancient giants' trust. Seeking their forgiveness was impossible now. Indeed, if the ancient giants won, they the half-giants would also become food for the ancient giants, just like the Central Earthlings. With a deep pain welling up in his heart, he thoroughly abandoned the illusion of surrendering to the ancient giants and devotedly assisted Central Earth in achieving victory. Thus, his attacks became ruthless and vigorous, slaughtering across the 4-star and 3-star giant kings. The previously critical heavenly person 4 declines to 2 declines level quickly stabilized with his complete involvement. Jiang Fan smiled. This kind of person has to be cornered before he devotes himself wholeheartedly to work. With the crisis resolved, Jiang Fan relaxed. The levels from 4 declines down to 2 declines were managed by the eager-to-prove-himself city lord of Heavenly Remnant, no longer requiring his concern. What he needed to do was create absolutely favorable conditions for the venerables of Heavenly Human 1 decline. By calculation, there were 5 more opportunities to activate a domain. However, he found it somewhat tricky because these 1-star giant kings seemed aware of the terrifying nature of his domain. When they saw him approaching, they scattered, refusing to gather. This rendered the domain's large-scale killing effect ineffective. More troubling, the ancient token began to heat up. Time was running out. Just at that moment, a coarse and mocking voice spread throughout half of the battlefield. Jiang Fan's flawless domain is exhausted. You can strike freely now. Jiang Fan's expression turned grim, following the sound's source with his eyes. A 30-Zhang giant king, all too familiar, came into view. It was none other than the Black Sun King who had escaped last time. No, it wasn't just him. Beside him stood another 5-star giant king, along with 9 giant kings. They were the Blood Moon King and his remaining forces from above Hunyuan State. They've been hiding all this time, waiting for the moment Jiang Fan's domain was exhausted. To capture Jiang Fan and rescue Princess Zaijiang. This was a secret order given to the 2 5-star giant kings and their 9 subordinates by the 6-sun giant emperor. Jiang Fan remained calm. He hadn't forgotten that there was still a remaining Blood Moon Royal Court force hidden on the battlefield. He initially thought they would be a trump card, used at the most crucial moment. In the end, they had been prepared for him. No wonder the Central Tribe King had never shown concern for his daughter since his arrival. Turns out they had everything planned. Does the Central Tribe King care so much about his daughter? Jiang Fan laughed lightly. He overestimates me. He actually sent a residual Blood Moon Tribe force and a Black Sun King from outside to deal with me. He looked towards the Black Sun King, his doubts resolved. The giant kings on the battlefield were wary of him, because the Black Sun King had warned them about the dangers of the flawless domain. The Black Sun King sneered. If we weren't worried that your flawless domain would indiscriminately harm Princess Zaijiang, do you think we would have waited until now? Killing Jiang Fan was secondary. The main goal was to rescue Princess Zaijiang. With the understanding of Jiang Fan that the Black Sun King had, he knew that before his death, Jiang Fan would definitely take Princess Zaijiang with him, never allowing the giant kings to have peace. The Black Sun King was confident that he could shield Princess Zaijiang from all of Jiang Fan's other methods. Only that flawless domain was particularly troublesome. Should Princess Zaijiang be caught in it, she would explode on the spot. That's why they remained inactive until Jiang Fan had used up his 5 domain usages. Jiang Fan smiled inwardly, who said his domain uses were exhausted. Relying on experience can be deadly. There was no visible change in his expression as he snorted softly. If you want to save Princess Zaijiang, you should ask if she is willing to go back with you. Princess Zaijiang, not far away, flew over to his side, her sharp gaze directed at the Black Sun King and his group. I am irreconcilable with the heavenly giants. Brother Jiang Fan, I only trust you and will not listen to their slander. The Black Sun King frowned, looking at Princess Zaijiang with giant blood flowing in her veins, saying grimly, The princess must have been manipulated by Jiang Fan. I will capture her alive. You guys deal with Jiang Fan? The Blood Moon King's enormous vertical eye, full of cruelty, stared at Jiang Fan. He pulled a white yang fish from the pocket at his waist, emitting a faint spatial attribute. Do you remember what this is? Jiang Fan smiled faintly. Of course I remember, so you kept it. This was Shu Bu Su's yin-yang fish spiritual artifact, capable of splitting into 2 independent space storage devices, yin and yang. Separated by a certain distance, the 2 space storage devices could exchange positions. They had relied on this to successfully save Xingyuan Venerable, and then took Princess Zaijiang back to the Central Earth Realm. As long as you remember, the Blood Moon King said sinisterly, I have kept it intact, waiting for the day to place your head and body inside the yin-yang fish, forever keeping them apart. Now, finally, it can come true. A fierce gleam flashed in his eyes, and he shouted, Kill him! The 9 giant kings behind him roared furiously and charged forward. Among them there were 5 with 1 star, 3 with 2 star, and 1 with 3 star and 4 star. Such power charging forward together, except for the heavenly human 5 declines venerable, who could face them head-on. The corners of Jiang Fan's lips curled slightly at the moment the 9 giant kings lunged at him. The full moon divine ring behind him silently flickered. The Blood Moon King was stunned, then instantly realized something was wrong, shouting urgently, "Retreat!" But it was too late. The 9 giant kings who instantaneously appeared were swept away by a formless domain. The 4-star and 3-star giant kings managed all right. With their strong physique, they withstood the domain. But the 5 1-star giant kings, without even a moment to react, exploded into blood mist on the spot. The 2 2-star giant kings also started to rot all over, screaming miserably. In a matter of breaths, 7 giant kings were injured or killed. The Blood Moon King was stunned on the spot, finding the scene before him hard to believe. The Blood Moon Royal Court, in deadly combat with Hunyuan State until now, had only sacrificed 70% of their forces. Yet confronting Jiang Fan once led to the loss of 5. "Black Sun King, didn't you say his domain was depleted?" The Blood Moon King roared. The sneer on the Black Sun King's face also froze. Confused, he said, "This. What happened? To my knowledge, the human clan's domain can typically be activated 5 times a day. Moreover, the more powerful the domain, the more it consumes domain power, reducing the number of activations. His flawless domain is so overbearing. 5 times should be the limit. How could there be a 6th time?" Jiang Fan smiled slightly, tapping the rebellious guy on his chest, and said, "Eat shoes, time to work." With 4 remaining flawless domain trial usages, how could he waste them? Before the ancient token activates, he must inflict maximum damage on the 1-star and 2-star giant kings. And for this, he would rely on the shoes of the heavenly human 5 declines body skill. The rebellious guy had long awaited this moment, gleefully pulling out that shoe and gnawing away. 2 little paws immediately sprouted a pair of shoes. Fury welled up in the Blood Moon King's eyes. As a chief of a royal court, how could he repeatedly suffer such a huge loss at the hands of Jiang Fan, a mere member of the Little People clan? "Jiang Fan, I'll tear you to pieces." His figure disappeared from where he stood, personally chasing after Jiang Fan in rage. The rebellious guy, seeing this, shuddered in fright and hurriedly took Jiang Fan on the run. And Jiang Fan didn't forget Princess Zai Jiang, pulling her along with him as they instantaneously moved away. "Rebellious guy, to the area with more 1-star giant kings." Jiang Fan's eyes flashed coldly. Finally, it was time for the flawless domain to unleash its killing potential. The rebellious guy looked around and locked onto a battle area several miles away. About 10 1-star and 2-star giant kings were fighting here. It leaped to the center in one step. The pursuing Blood Moon King's expression changed dramatically, anxiously shouting, "Scatter! Everyone scatter!" The 1-star giant kings only then noticed Jiang Fan's arrival. Recalling his terrifying domain, they fled without a second thought. They were just a little too late. Flawless domain! Compared to ordinary domains, the flawless domain's range was more than twice as large, directly covering several miles of the battlefield. The Central Earth people were unharmed, while the giant kings either exploded on the spot or had their injuries worsen, becoming lambs to the slaughter. In an instant, it resulted in the injuries and deaths of 10 giant kings. "The 7th time," Jiang Fan said coldly. "Next place." The Blood Moon King roared continuously, rushing forward with a destructive aura. The rebellious guy hastily fled, once more arriving at a war zone with many 1-star and 2-star giant kings. Flawless domain. As expected, all the 1-star giant kings here exploded, and the 2-star giant kings were severely injured, no less than 8 in total. "The 8th time." Next place. Bursting with fury, the Blood Moon King realized that in just 3 instances, Jiang Fan's flawless domain had already caused 25 giant king fatalities. He roared, "Black Sun King, what are you waiting for? Come and join together in intercepting him." At this moment, the rebellious guy had already run elsewhere. "Flawless domain. The 9th time, next place." 7 more giant kings were injured or killed. Faced with shock, the Black Sun King realized Jiang Fan's flawless domain's effectiveness in the mid to late stages of the battlefield exceeded that of a 5-star giant king. This child must not be allowed to stay. In the kingdoming sky, as the Central Earth Venerable and sages engaged in fierce combat, they were also stunned by the unfolding scene below. Wanyan Sage solemnly remarked, "Could this be the ancestor Tao?" Tianluo Sage said seriously, "When the ancient saint declared it to the world, I wasn't convinced, but now I see how terrifying the ancestor Tao is." The red-faced sage gasped. My goodness. Considering both past and present, he's already slain over 50 giant kings. That's equivalent to an entire tribe's army. The compassionate sage's face turned grim, finally understanding why the ancient saint protected him. This little brat with his strength alone changed the entire battle outcome. There were only about 130 giant kings in total. He had slain 50 of them himself. The 1-star and 2-star giant kings had nearly been killed by him alone. What kind of potential is this? If he were to grow, would there still be a place for Heavenly Heritage City or himself? A trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. The realm of Heavenly Human 5 Declines was also shocked. The cold and pretty face of the Master of Star Mountain showed deep surprise. Is this still considered a domain? Elsewhere, the Heavenly Person Decline and Giant King fought back and forth. Jiang Fan was executing a one-sided massacre. She saw with her own eyes many giant kings did not resist. They also unleashed their origins, attempting to shatter the domain. Under normal circumstances, the origin and domain would mutually consume each other. But when the giant king's origin met Jiang Fan's domain, it strangely melted within the domain. This led to them being utterly powerless in the face of Jiang Fan's domain. She finally understood the meaning of the 4 words, Wook Ancestor Dao. Thinking that he almost married Su Yining, she felt another wave of regret. He really should have held Jiang Fan down until Su Yining had a second child before letting him go. Bingxin Venerate mumbled, "This guy, in every sense, is such a pervert." Jinlin Venerate was stunned for a moment before coming to his senses and laughing heartily. "He truly deserves to be the son-in-law of my demon continent, invincible in the realm of Heavenly Person Decline." The owner of Jiangshan First Class Building smiled. "In this battle, Central Earth will surely win." As Jiang Fan consecutively slaughtered dozens of 1-star giant kings, the realm of Heavenly Person Decline was already overwhelmingly in favor of Central Earth. The multiple casualties of 2-star giant kings also painted a favorable picture for Central Earth's situation. The realms of 4 declines and 3 declines were gradually tilting towards Central Earth due to the actions of the Heavenly Remnant City Lord. Adding to that, the realm of Heavenly Human 5 Declines was also slightly advantageous for Central Earth. The situation of the decisive battle was becoming increasingly clear. However, Jiang Fan did not intend to stop. There was still one more chance to unleash the domain. His gaze locked onto a nearby battlefield where there were 4 1-star giant kings. As he prepared to take them down, the enraged Black Sun King shouted, "Jiang Fan, see who this is?" Jiang Fan looked over at the voice and saw the Black Sun King holding a burlap sack with something writhing inside. His heart sank, a bad premonition arose. As the Black Sun King shattered the bag, a girl with silver hair, a delicate face, and stunning features tumbled out. The giant palm of Black Sun King casually caught her, holding her in his grip. "I don't believe you don't care if she lives or dies." Having said that, his fingers gradually exerted force. The unconscious girl opened her eyes in pain, a deep look of agony on her beautiful face. Her slender body emitted cracking sounds under strain, and the 3 crowns atop her head were rapidly disintegrating. Jiang Fan's expression shifted slightly. It was Green Pearl. Black Sun King had caught her before the red sleeves. He knew that showing concern for Green Pearl would mean being controlled by Black Sun King, but he couldn't bear to watch Green Pearl be crushed to death in front of him. "Stop!" Jiang Fan shouted coldly. Black Sun King laughed, his huge mouth splitting open to reveal a sinister smile. "I knew you weren't that heartless." The Blood Moon King swiftly approached. Watching Jiang Fan hesitate, he said coldly, "What are you waiting for? Kill him." He was about to leap forward and strike Jiang Fan, but Black Sun King pressed down on his shoulder, his large vertical eyes slightly narrowing. "Wait! I have one thing to ask him." Black Sun King stared at Jiang Fan, saying meaningfully, "The Netherworld King isn't dead yet, right?" The reason for his speculation was because his origin to foresee the future could no longer be used since the battle at Extreme East. This meant his future was halted at the last prediction, dying at the hands of the Netherworld King. There is no future after death, so naturally it cannot be predicted. This worried him most. If the Netherworld King isn't dead, his future won't change. Jiang Fan's gaze sharpened. He didn't kill the Netherworld King. First, to threaten the unruly Princess Zaijiang, and second, to deal with Black Sun King. The miserable state of the Netherworld King was due to Black Sun King's scheme. If he were to release the Netherworld King, what miserable fate would await Black Sun King? Of course, he wouldn't directly let him go. Otherwise, with the Netherworld King's intelligence, he would surely kill Jiang Fan first and then deal with Black Sun King. Jiang Fan said, "Release Green Pearl and I'll kill the Netherworld King now." With those words, the gaze of Princess Zaijiang behind him flickered. The Blood Moon King also showed a sharp look, glancing suspiciously at Black Sun King. "What do you mean? Do you want the Netherworld King dead?" Black Sun King said casually. "How could that be? I just want to confirm whether the Netherworld King is still alive, so I can think of a way to save him." Then he coldly stared at Jiang Fan, revealing a sinister look. "Green Pearl is in my hands. Saving her is very simple. Make that little spirit beast on you step away." The most troublesome thing about Jiang Fan was the movement technique of Rebellious Guy at the level of Heavenly Human 5 declines. With this technique, Jiang Fan came and went freely, completely untouchable. Once he left, Jiang Fan would be a sacrificial lamb facing the two 5-star giant kings, ready for them to handle as they pleased. No, Green Pearl already understood her predicament and knew exactly what kind of danger Jiang Fan was in. Without Rebellious Guy, Jiang Fan would surely die. Jiang Fan hesitated. The predicament Green Pearl ended up in was all because of him. He couldn't see her perish. But if he died, what would happen to the ancient token? That concerned the entire future of Central Earth. "Jiang Fan, don't worry about me." Green Pearl's mouth spilled with blood, her expression desolate. "I am an insignificant member of the Usura clan, while you belong to the human clan of Central Earth. Go and protect your Central Earth for me. It's not worth it." She held no grudge against Jiang Fan for causing her plight. Everything was her own choice. She considered it repaying him for blocking Ari Shura King for her. Rip, however, a strange sound rang out. Green Pearl looked determinedly, her expression changed drastically. "What are you doing?" Jiang Fan untied the ropes binding Rebellious Guy and released it from his body. "Go now, Rebellious Guy." Rebellious Guy was stunned, surprised. "Little vampire, are you seeking death? Just for the sake of a woman you have little acquaintance with?" Jiang Fan gently shook his head, looking distantly at Green Pearl's pale face, her bleeding lips with tender eyes. "That's my wife from the heavenly realm. If I, as her husband, don't save her, who else will in this world?" Holding Rebellious Guy, he said, "You better leave, haven't you long to break away?" "As you wish." He lifted his foot and kicked Rebellious Guy on the butt, kicking it into the sky. Green Pearl froze, staring blankly at Jiang Fan, a look of disbelief on her face. "Are you crazy, seeking death for someone like me? Is it worth it? In the end, we'll both die anyway." Black Sun King wouldn't spare Jiang Fan, nor would he spare her. Ultimately, they would both be killed. Jiang Fan smiled calmly, saying, "I know Black Sun King won't let us go. But how can I bear to watch Green Pearl's wife die alone? You were banished from the village, already lonely, and now you have to travel alone. I'll accompany you, at least you won't be lonely on the way to the Yellow Springs." Green Pearl's eyes brimmed with tears, her vision quickly blurred. A great warmth surged into her heart's depths, just like when Jiang Fan stood before Ari Shura King for her. There's actually a man in this world who would twice risk death for her. How could he be so foolish? A person who is normally so smart. Tears silently fell from her eyes. With guilt on her face, she said tearfully, "Sorry, I've dragged you into this. If there's a next life, I'll be your wife and repay you with a lifetime." Black Sun King's eyes were cold. Hearing such words from Green Pearl made him furious. The terrifying pressure of the 5-star giant king directly pressed towards Jiang Fan, spitefully. "Little brat, I want you two dogs to die horribly." Pearl, with tears in her eyes, painfully closed her eyes, not daring to look at Jiang Fan's miserable state. The pressure of the Heavenly Human 5 declines. How could Jiang Fan possibly withstand it? It would instantly crush him into a blood mist. However, the expected sound of explosion did not come. Instead, her body suddenly lost balance and the world spun around her. When she looked closely, she found that the arm of the Black Sun King that was holding her had been severed by some unparalleled sharp weapon. An exceptionally beautiful woman in a black long dress appeared out of nowhere, elegantly pulled her out of the Black Sun King's grasp, then instantaneously moved back to Jiang Fan's side. Looking at this girl who looked exactly like her, Green Pearl was shocked and said, "Red Sleeves, why is it you?" Red Sleeves put her down, glanced at her indifferently, and said, "Only brings trouble to me." If Green Pearl died, she might die too. So she had long been hiding in the shadows, waiting for a chance to intervene. Green Pearl was not grateful and said, "Who asked you to save me? If you think I'm causing you trouble, then don't save me." Ridiculous. She still didn't know that all her feelings would synchronize to Red Sleeves. had always thought Red Sleeves was just deliberately making things difficult for her. Having been rescued, she didn't care about her injuries, instead hurriedly checked Jiang Fan. "Are you all right?" Jiang Fan was unharmed. He smiled and said, "Fortunately, your sister arrived just in time. I'm fine." After a pause, he teased, "Did you just say you'd be my wife in the next life and serve me forever?" Red Sleeves' white face suddenly turned red. Her gaze hurriedly shifted away from Jiang Fan, instinctively wanting to deny, but recalling Jiang Fan's words about giving up hope for escape to stay and accompany her, along with his lonely standing figure. She bowed her head and shyly nodded her snow-white chin. "Yes, I meant it. In the next life, I'll be your wife." He, Red Sleeves shook her head and snorted mockingly. Green Pearl suddenly felt ashamed and angry. "The agreement between Jiang Fan and me, what's it to you? You don't understand what we've been through." Red Sleeves glanced at her, shaking her head repeatedly. "You really are so easy to deceive. In the heavenly realm, you were deceived by Jiang Fan to be his wife, and now even in the next life you are deceived to be his wife. How do I have such a foolish sister like you?" She rubbed her temples and sighed softly. Green Pearl was stunned, suspiciously asked, "He deceived me. How did he deceive me?" Red Sleeves glanced at Jiang Fan and said, "Do you think he's the kind of person to wait for death, letting others slaughter him?" Green Pearl was full of confusion. In her impression, Jiang Fan was really not that kind of person. Even if it meant dying, he would find a way to bite off a piece of the enemy, who would give up all hope of survival and stand there waiting for death. Red Sleeves solved her confusion. "He had long suspected that I was nearby, waiting for a chance to act. So he put on a facade of giving up to die for you, with a grim and hopeless expression to lull the Black Sun King into letting down his guard. So I could make the move and rescue you." Green Pearl was dumbfounded. Her gaze shifted to Jiang Fan and found that his eyes avoided hers. This indirectly confirmed Red Sleeves' words. His words and actions were all to deceive the Black Sun King. She suddenly felt her blood rush to her head, grabbing Jiang Fan's collar in anger. "When you said I was your wife in the heavenly realm, and if you didn't save me then who would, was that meant for the Black Sun King's ears?" Jiang Fan opened his mouth, not knowing where to start explaining. At that time, the situation was urgent, and who had the mind to deceive Green Pearl? It was all to make the Black Sun King believe his words and actions. Seeing Jiang Fan silent, Green Pearl's heart hurt. She pursed her lips, unwillingly asked, "Then those heartfelt words you said, claiming I was alone and pitiable, wanting to accompany me to the Yellow Springs, was that also to deceive the Black Sun King?" Jiang Fan sighed softly. "I did not intend to deceive you, just wanted the Black Sun King to relax his vigilance." Green Pearl's hand, gripping the collar, trembled slightly, her vision blurred again by tears. Jiang Fan's words, the Black Sun King took them seriously, but she took them seriously too. She truly believed there was someone willing to die for her. She was moved, innocently promised to be Jiang Fan's wife in the next life, repaying him for a lifetime. In the end, it was yet another big deception. Moreover, this time she was deceived along with her sister. She repeatedly clutched Jiang Fan's collar, then silently loosened it, raising her tear-stained face, gazing at the man so close. "Why do you give me hope time and again, make me believe there is someone worth treasuring in the world, yet repeatedly make me despair? Did I do something wrong? Why treat me this way?" Jiang Fan was startled, not expecting Green Pearl to have such an intense reaction. He didn't intentionally deceive Green Pearl either time, but thinking of how Green Pearl had been targeted by Red Sleeves since childhood, suffered so greatly, and was later expelled from the village, forced to wander to the Black Sun Royal Court, under the control of the Black Sun King. Her life had been full of gloom and misfortune. Jiang Fan appeared like a ray of sunlight, making her feel warmth. Yet every time she gathered courage to catch it, it would all turn to illusion and scattered away. Time after time, finally leading her to despair. Jiang Fan held her shoulder, softly said, "I'm sorry for disappointing you." "But I am not." Green Pearl's shoulder shook, shaking off Jiang Fan's hand. The last hint of hope in her eyes faded away, completely dim. She took several steps back, lowered her head to wipe away her tears, her voice foreign. "No need to apologize, you took this last resort to save me. I should be the one thanking you instead. I owe you 2 lives, one from the heavenly realm, one from today. Now I've paid them back to you. We owe each other nothing." With that, she turned and charged toward a distant battle between the heavenly person 4 declines and the 4-star giant king. Jiang Fan's expression changed. Green Pearl, the 3-crowned Usura king, how could she join the battle of the heavenly person 4 declines? This was suicide. Red Sleeves rubbed her brow. You really don't understand women at all. She wasn't waiting for you to explain. She was waiting for you to give her hope, even false hope. She would deceive herself into believing it. Yet you let her lose the last bit of hope. After a pause, Red Sleeves showed a hint of guilt in her eyes. Although you aren't to blame. Because she lacks love in her heart, she would be particularly concerned about anyone who treats her well. And that's my fault. Watching Green Pearl, lifeless, intent on dying, she leapt and attempted to rush over. But a terrifying force of origin swept over. Red Sleeves' expression turned grim, decisively took out a bone fan, waved it to emit a large area of holy light to dissolve the origin power. She was shaken back several steps, looking up to see Blood Moon King and Black Sun King standing together. Blood Moon King, enraged, said, "A mere Usura clan daring to ruin our plans. Black Sun King, you handle this Usura, I'll personally kill Jiang Fan." He couldn't stand it anymore. A mere heavenly person declined novice venerate, and 2 5-star giant kings hadn't killed him after all this time. This was simply a disgrace. Black Sun King was also full of shame, with killing intent rampant. No, killing Jiang Fan is too easy for him. I want him to live a fate worse than death. A star on his forehead shifted slightly, releasing a wisp of Green Pearl's soul. He grabbed it in his palm, face contorted with hostility. "You damned couple. I'll kill Green Pearl first, make you regret, finally kill you." This time, he didn't hesitate, decisively clenched it tightly. Jiang Fan coldly laughed. "Try killing her, Princess Zaijiang won't live either." Zaijiang's neck leaving a bloodstain. At the same time, the final domain was ready to be unleashed. Once activated, Princess Zaijiang would be doomed. The Black Sun King trembled, showing annoyance. "How many times can you deploy your domain?" The Blood Moon King also felt like vomiting blood. "This damn thing is endless. Whose good guy's domain can be used 9 times and still not run out? No, is the Heavenly Tao sick? Giving Jiang Fan such a domineering and heaven-defying domain, the 2 5-star giant kings were somewhat broken. Princess Zaijiang paused, clutching her neck. "Brother Jiang Fan, what are you doing? What did I do wrong?" Jiang Fan replied without turning his head. "It's okay, brother won't harm you." Princess Zaijiang nodded aggrievedly. "All right, I trust brother Jiang Fan." But as she spoke, the warmth in her vertical eye suddenly turned sharply fierce. Her right foot, already poised, suddenly kicked towards Jiang Fan's back, which was close at hand. Her voice was sharp and vicious. "Die, Jiang Fan!" Bang, but when her foot kicked out, a flash of light from the space mirror on Jiang Fan's body flickered. A little beast with blue scales all over suddenly appeared behind. Facing the incoming kick, the little beast gritted its teeth and thrust out its chest, shouting, "100% chest shattered by a giant rock." Poof. Princess Zaijiang's kick, upon touching rebellious guy's chest, seemed to trigger some sort of restriction, exploding immediately into a blood mist. She gasped in pain, and the time origin star at her brow quickly operated, restoring her foot to normal. Before she could make another move, the huge evil sword was already against her neck. Jiang Fan turned his head and glanced, smiling faintly. "Finally stopped pretending." Princess Zaijiang coldly stared at Jiang Fan, her huge vertical eye showing no surprise. Her voice was low. "When did you know I had my memory restored?" From Jiang Fan's earlier reaction, it was clear he had been wary of her for a long time. This little spirit beast, called Rebellious Guy, Jiang Fan pretended to kick it away, but actually stored it in the space storage device. He was waiting to deal with her betrayal. Jiang Fan said calmly, "Not long ago, when Giant King's blood splashed on you, you hesitated for a moment, and I speculated that you would likely recover. This memory-deleting talent comes from the Usura King, called Red Sleeves, right before you. She warned me before that memories at the divinity transformation realm are hard to erase completely. So, from the beginning, I never expected to control you forever. Moreover, you're smart and understand the time reversal origin. Recovering memories was just a matter of time." Princess Zaijiang sighed to the sky, eyes full of indignation. "I was naive. How could someone like you be deceived? Instead, it was I who, to gain your trust, kept calling you brother Jiang Fan against my will and continued to slaughter my compatriots. In the end, I was played by you." Recalling how she killed so many compatriots, Princess Zaijiang was filled with guilt. Looking at Jiang Fan, her gaze was icy. "You're truly a demon." Jiang Fan smiled slightly. "To be considered a demon by your giants is the highest affirmation of all my efforts." Princess Zaijiang gritted her teeth decisively. "But you are mistaken about one thing." Her body moved abruptly, ignoring the flawless domain enveloping her and the evil sword at her neck. She boldly activated the time origin, coldly saying, "That is, I will not sacrifice my life to give you a chance to escape." She intended to exchange her life for Jiang Fan's. However, her rotating star soon stopped, because Jiang Fan now held a tricolored gourd in his hand. Jiang Fan shook it, startling Princess Zaijiang to scream. "Don't," Jiang Fan said indifferently. "You indeed don't care about your own life, but can you disregard the Netherworld King's life?" Princess Zaijiang gritted her teeth and said, "Don't kill him, I will let you handle me." Jiang Fan shook his head, his gaze becoming indifferent. "Your value to me has already been lost." In the heavenly person decline realm battlefield, Central Earth's advantage is absolute. Whether there's a Princess Zaijiang or not makes no difference. On the contrary, she could become a hidden threat. Princess Zaijiang anxiously asked, "So what do you want?" Jiang Fan finally revealed the true purpose of enslaving Princess Zaijiang. "Releasing the Netherworld King is possible, but you need to let your father, the Emperor of the Central Tribe, do two things." Princess Zaijiang was shocked. Jiang Fan's true scheme was actually here. She said solemnly, "If you want my father to withdraw troops, then it's not possible, he won't agree." But soon she realized, if Jiang Fan intended to use her as a hostage to force the ancient giant to withdraw troops, he would have done so before the great battle began. But if not for that, then what is it? Jiang Fan shook his head. "The first thing, give me Green Pearl's remnant soul." Next to him, Red Sleeves was surprised. Jiang Fan didn't hesitate to use the memory-deleting talent she gifted him and held Princess Zaijiang to confront a six-sun giant emperor. Such reckless behavior was actually to save Green Pearl. She looked at Green Pearl's back in the distance and suddenly felt a trace of envy. It seemed Green Pearl had met someone worthy of cherishing for life. Princess Zaijiang was stunned, clearly not expecting that after all Jiang Fan's schemes, risking the greatest danger, his intention was just for such a simple matter. She came to her senses, immediately saying, "I agree on behalf of my father. What is the second demand?" Jiang Fan instinctively shook the gourd, quickly realizing and holding it still. This was already the second shake. If he shook it again, the Netherworld King would die. This also terrified Princess Zaijiang, prompting her to urge, "Hurry up and say it." Jiang Fan grinned sheepishly, saying, "The second demand, each of the 10 sins of Central Earth must separate 3/10 of their power of laws. Releasing the Netherworld King is fine, but he can't waste the use of the Tai Chu prison sky gourd. He must recoup from the ancient giants." Princess Zaijiang said seriously, "When the sages and giant emperors of both sides are fighting, you want the 10 sins of Central Earth to separate 3/10 of their power of laws. Is that possible? If so, the 10 sins of Central Earth would soon be defeated. The outcome of this battle would be decided." Jiang Fan said, "If you can't decide, ask your father." "This is your greatest value?" Princess Zaijiang felt oppressed. As someone considered a strategist among the giants, she felt like a puppet before Jiang Fan. Once a wrong step, every subsequent step was wrong. She glanced at the Tai Chu prison sky gourd, suppressed her emotions, looked up at Kingaming, sensed her father's direction, and opened her mouth to emit a silent sound wave. Red Sleeves' calm face became solemn. "Jiang Fan, you're playing a big game. Negotiating with the six-sun giant emperor as a heavenly person decline is unprecedented." Jiang Fan took a deep breath. Though appearing composed, inside he was extremely anxious. Next, he would face the six-sun giant emperor, one who could kill him with just a glance. Far more dangerous than when the nascent soul realm faced Evil Crow Venerable. Fan still remembers clearly the time he couldn't even move a finger when facing the Evil Crow Venerable. As insignificant as an ant, at the mercy of others. Facing the six-sun giant emperor today, it can only be worse. At this moment, he suddenly felt a lightness, his body involuntarily beginning to float upwards. Looking down at the heavenly thunder stone in his arms, his expression changed. The light from the ancient token had completely penetrated the heavenly thunder stone, shining out from his chest. Even through his clothes, a faint token-shaped glow could be seen. Red Sleeves noticed his abnormality, subtly grasping his arm, forcibly pulling him back to the ground. She slightly furrowed her brows and communicated telepathically. "Is it the ancient token?" Back when Flowers in Bloom explained the ancient token inside the moon realm, she gained some understanding of it. Knowing that this is something that could decide the fate of a world. Jiang Fan's current state looked like he was about to be forcibly teleported away. Jiang Fan initiated Mute Zen, solemnly saying, "Hold on to me, don't let the six-sun giant emperor notice anything." The heavenly realm is still unaware that Central Earth, which should only have an ancient token after another millennium, now unexpectedly has one. If they find out, they will stop at nothing to destroy the ancient token. As the holder of the ancient token, Jiang Fan would be killed by them at any cost. Red Sleeves nodded lightly. However, she slowly realized that even she could not fully suppress the power of the forced teleportation. After a brief thought, she leaned closer, wrapping her arm around Jiang Fan's arm, using all her strength to forcibly suppress Jiang Fan. A faint, subtle fragrance followed, entering Jiang Fan's nostrils. There was also a strange softness from where their arms touched. But Jiang Fan had no inclination to feel it, his mind filled only with urgency. About to lose grip. Must complete the transaction quickly. He forced calmness, interrupting Princess Zaijiang's conversation, saying, "You've taken this long to communicate. It seems your father doesn't care much about the Netherworld King. At least not as much as you do. To avoid trouble, I'd better deal with the Netherworld King, lest it all goes to waste." Indeed, Princess Zaijiang could not persuade the six-son giant emperor. Hearing Jiang Fan's words, she became anxious and quickly spoke at a rapid pace. As soon as she finished speaking, the sky suddenly split open from the void, revealing a golden giant illuminating the heavens and earth. He exuded an unmatched aura of annihilation, like a god. A massive golden vertical eye looked down at Jiang Fan on the ground, indifferently saying, "Release the Netherworld King, and I grant you immortality." The booming voice was like muffled thunder rolling across the battlefield for miles. The bodies of those in the divinity transformation realm and the giant kings shook violently upon hearing it, as if shocking thunder exploded beside them. Jiang Fan's body shook even more violently, the blood and chi within him churning, the divine ring on the back of his head flickering uncertainly. His heart was in turmoil. A single sentence carried such overwhelming power, and this was due to his ancient saint's special permission, rendering him unafraid of the pressure from those at the virtuous realm level. Otherwise, he might already be gravely injured with his divine ring shattered. Such terror from the six-son giant emperor, it's unimaginable what kind of world-ending existence the 9-day giant emperor, whose life and death remain unknown, could be. Suppressing the turmoil in his heart, he feigned calmness and said, "Release the green pearl soul and grant me the power of laws, or there will be no negotiation. Otherwise, I would rather die with your daughter and the Netherworld King." At this moment, the great wine sacrifice of Taikang State also made his appearance. He waved his sleeve, smoothing out the pressure of the six-son giant emperor on the battlefield, saying, "Six-son giant emperor, let us continue." Seeing the great wine sacrifice intervene, Jiang Fan slightly sighed in relief. With him moderating, the negotiation seemed safe. But he also clearly felt that Red Sleeves was about to lose control over him. The force of the forced teleportation was reaching a critical point. Even five-crowned King of Hell could barely withstand it. His heart filled with urgency, he simply held a sword to Princess Zaijiang's neck, saying, "Decide quickly." The six-son giant emperor glanced at the great wine sacrifice, then at Princess Zaijiang, and after a brief thought, indifferently said, "I can release the green pearl soul. As for the power of laws, you can only extract 10% from each of the 10 sages." 10%? Jiang Fan slightly frowned. He wanted to activate the highest level of the blue gourd. 10% might not be enough, but he had no time to bargain. Red Sleeve's eyes already showed strenuous signs of suppression. He decisively said, "Fine, give me what I need and I'll release them immediately." The six-son giant emperor said no more, raising his hand to grasp the void. Among them, the 9 sins, each knowing their place, offered 10% of their power of laws. Only Qingshan Sage hesitated, hoarsely saying, "He, you dare demand my power of laws. You'd better hope you die on this battlefield before I find you." His annoyance was evident. For a mere divinity transformation realm to extort his power of laws, it truly was unprecedented in the 3 worlds. Despite those words, he still sent out a wave of power of laws. The six-son giant emperor's 5 fingers clenched, the 10 strands of power of laws coalescing into a gleaming crystal chain, thrown into the air. Seeing this, the great wine sacrifice waved his horsetail whisk, encapsulating it with a stream of pure chi. This was to prevent the power of laws from injuring Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan was overjoyed, feeling relieved that the great wine sacrifice personally acted. He securely caught the invaluable power of laws, stowing it into the heavenly thunder stone. He then added, "And the green pearl soul." The six-son giant emperor's gaze shifted, looking towards the Black Sun King, authoritatively saying, "Give it to him." However, the Black Sun King hesitated. His vertical eye flickered violently, full of struggle. Releasing the green pearl soul meant Jiang Fan would free the Netherworld King as agreed. Then, the furious Netherworld King would kill him. This exactly matched the foretold future. To avoid such a future, he had once conspired to kill the Netherworld King, but never expected that this act would only cement the Netherworld King's intent on his life. He had not altered the future. Instead, he had facilitated its realization. After a moment of struggle, he looked at the green pearl soul in his hand, murderous intent rising in his eyes. If he killed the green pearl soul, Jiang Fan in his rage would also kill the Netherworld King, thus altering his destined death. The cost of this, however, was defying the six-sun giant emperor's order, subjecting himself to severe punishment. It could be death, or perhaps a chance to redeem himself. But it was a glimmer of hope, better than dying at the hands of the Netherworld King. He made a decisive move, saying, "Central Tribe Emperor, forgive me for not following orders." The green pearl. Must die, the expressions of all from the six-sun giant emperor, the great wine sacrifice. Jiang Fan, red sleeves, to Princess Zai, Jiang, changed. No one anticipated the Black Sun King would dare defy the Central Tribe Emperor's order. Jiang Fan's heart leapt to his throat, because right now, no one could stop the Black Sun King. Neither the six-sun giant emperor nor the great wine sacrifice had time. The Black Sun King decisively tightened his fingers, crushing the green pearl soul. And this remnant soul would directly lead to the death of Green Pearl's true self. Jiang Fan felt time stop at that moment. Had it all ended in failure after all? Was it I who killed Green Pearl? A deep sigh came from the depths of his heart. At the same time, the sound of air crushing in the Black Sun King's palm echoed. The Green Pearl's soul had been shattered. The remnant soul? Where is Green Pearl's remnant soul? Who did this? Sun King looking around in fury, his palm empty. Neither the remnant soul of Green Pearl nor any soul-light spots were present. Could it be? Jiang Fan's heart began to stir again, and he quickly looked around. At this moment, a proud, sharp laugh echoed around. Heh, exhilarating, exciting indeed. The first theft upon reaching divinity is stealing something from the five-star giant king. The voice was sometimes near, sometimes far, making it impossible to pinpoint the location. Then a sound of breaking through the air came beside Jiang Fan, and a gray-robed, sly-eyed youth performed instantaneous movement to appear. The corners of his lips bore two wispy, long mustaches, and his eyes squinted into slits as if not fully awake. His chin was sharp, cheeks monkey-thin, and his face displayed a playful, ambiguous smile. At first glance, one might mistake him for a humanoid rat, and he was none other than Shu Bu-Su. "It's you!" Jiang Fan was greatly surprised, having almost forgotten about this guy. Unexpectedly, upon reappearing, he had attained divinity transformation, comprehending his unique domain of theft. He was even brazen enough to steal the remnant soul of Green Pearl from the five-star giant king. Shu Bu-Su chuckled and handed over a wisp of remnant soul from his palm. "Jiang Dao Yu, thanks to your guidance leading me to the heavenly realm to steal treasures from the giant kings, I've attained my path. This is the first object I stole upon reaching divinity transformation, and I'll gift it to you." Jiang Fan quickly accepted it. The heart that had been tense for so long was finally at ease at this moment. He was immensely grateful. "Thank you, Shu Dao Yu," Shu Bu-Su laughed. "I'll gift you another treasure." He opened his other palm, and a yang fish appeared. The Blood Moon King from afar was startled and reached for his waist pouch. The pouch that was supposed to hold the yang fish had vanished without a trace. In just a brief moment, Shu Bu-Su had stolen treasures from two five-star giant kings. Jiang Fan was amazed. Shu Bu-Su's domain might not be useful in combat, but in terms of theft, it was an invincible existence. Even the five-star giant kings couldn't avoid his theft. Looking at this yang fish, Jiang Fan didn't hesitate and accepted it. However, upon holding it, he felt it was heavier than expected, as if something had been stuffed inside. He looked at Shu Bu-Su in confusion. The latter winked mysteriously at him. Jiang Fan understood. This was likely a treasure Shu Bu-Su had stolen from the heavenly realm, fearing its detection by the giant kings, and thus handed it to him for safekeeping. Without showing any emotion, he tucked it into his chest and thanked once more. "Thank you, Shu Dao Yu. You're welcome, we're helping each other." Shu Bu-Su replied with a smile. The Black Sun King finally understood what was happening, and in a mix of shock and rage, instantaneously moved closer. A massive hand directly slapped towards Jiang Fan, shouting, "Give it back to me, quickly return the remnant soul of Green Pearl." The remnant soul that even the six-sun giant emperor intended to eradicate had been obtained by Jiang Fan. Now, he's neither in nor out. Red Sleeve snorted, and with a wave of her black sleeve, boundless yin qi surged forth and condensed into a wall, blocking the palm strike. Jiang Fan took the opportunity to open the lid of the Tai Chu prison sky gourd. A wisp of blue smoke arose, slowly condensing into the towering 30-zhang body of the Netherworld King as it landed on the ground. He glanced at Jiang Fan with his head slightly turned, a flash of murderous intent in his eyes. However, noticing Red Sleeves tightly clutching his arm, an apprehensive look appeared, preventing any reckless action. Then he noticed the Black Sun King. The murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Princess Zaijiang was immensely pleased. "Netherworld, are you all right?" The Netherworld King stared intensely at the Black Sun King, saying, "Zijiang, what did it cost you to make Jiang Fan release me?" Princess Zaijiang truthfully revealed the facts. Upon learning that Jiang Fan requested the power of law from a full 10 sages, his gaze towards the Black Sun King became even colder. He already guessed what Jiang Fan intended with the power of law: to activate that terrifying gourd. With so much power of law, that gourd might be able to be used 2 more times, enough to kill both of the 5-star giant kings. The Black Sun King, for his selfish desires, actually gave Jiang Fan such a great advantage, posing such a threat to his own people. The murderous intent in his eyes could no longer be concealed, and he looked up at the 6-sun giant emperor, saying, "Emperor, please allow me to execute him." The 6-sun giant emperor regarded the Black Sun King coldly and said heartlessly, "Don't leave a whole corpse." The Netherworld King nodded, "Yes." Immediately, Leng Keng stared at the Black Sun King. "For self-preservation, you framed me and I can overlook it. But you shouldn't have caused the 3rd battle in Taikang State to end in defeat for your own sake. Even worse, you shouldn't have allowed Jiang Fan to become an even greater threat for your own benefit. In the name of the commander of the 9th Army of the Central Region, I sentence you to death." The Black Sun King's face turned pale. The foretold future had inevitably arrived. He was unwilling. Having barely attained the status of 5-star giant king and being just 1 step away from the supreme giant emperor, yet he was about to fall here. "Netherworld King, this is all you're doing. If I hadn't foreseen you would kill me, would I have ended up in such a state? I don't believe it. We are both 5-star giant kings. Why must I be the one to be killed by you?" At the final moment, the Black Sun King was fierce and launched an attack at the Netherworld King first. He used instantaneous movement to appear before the Netherworld King, using his remaining broken arm to violently smash towards the Netherworld King's head. The resulting destructive shockwave shattered the space into dense void cracks. In terms of physique, the Giant King was unrivaled in the world. The great venerate of the human clan could not withstand such a blow. Yet the Netherworld King casually extended his palm and grasped the Black Sun King's fist, his eyes cold. The gap between a 5-star giant king and another 5-star giant king can sometimes be even greater than that between a 5-star and a 1-star. As he spoke, the 5 stars on his brow began to rotate. A mysterious black mist enveloped him, forming the illusion of a ghostly figure attached to him when viewed from afar. Crack! The Netherworld King's 5 fingers clenched, and the once indestructible fist of the Black Sun King exploded on the spot. Following that, the Netherworld King punched again, shattering the Black Sun King's chest. Despite both being 5-star giant kings, the Black Sun King was defenseless before the Netherworld King. The Netherworld King remarked indifferently, "I can only use my origin power once a day. I didn't expect to use it on my own kin today." Finished speaking, he punched towards the Black Sun King's head once more. "It's over." The Black Sun King didn't panic. Instead, his eyes revealed a sinister gleam. His toes suddenly lifted, revealing a sharp, snow-white arrowhead filled with a sacred aura caught between his toes. As his toes kicked, it fiercely shot towards the Netherworld King's abdomen. Except what the Black Sun King hadn't foreseen was the black mist enveloping the Netherworld King's body, seemingly alive, sensed the life-threatening danger to the Netherworld King. The mist detached from his body, transforming into a huge, ghostly shadow that enveloped the Black Sun King. Then, the Black Sun King appeared to be devoured by countless ghosts. His body was repeatedly torn and eaten away. First the feet, then the torso, and finally the head. Within just 2 breaths, he was gnawed into a state of disrepair. The Black Sun King let out a ferocious and tragic scream. "What? What kind of origin power is this?" The Netherworld King replied coldly. "You don't need to know." With a snap of his fingers, the ghostly mist surged forth. The massive 30-zhang body of the Black Sun King was utterly consumed amidst his chilling and terrifying screams. In the end, only 5 stars quietly fell to the ground. The Netherworld King stepped forward, crushed the 5 stars beneath his foot, grinding them to dust. Accompanied by the wailing of the remnant soul within, the 5-star giant king who had presided over the Black Sun royal court for nearly 1,000 years was utterly destroyed. No one expected that he would ultimately die at the hands of his own kind. Jiang Fan's eyes showed deep apprehension. The Netherworld King's origin power was truly eerie. Was that even considered origin power? It seemed to possess a consciousness of its own. With this origin power, killing those of the same level was effortless. Red Sleeves exhibited a trace of relief in her eyes. She had once fought the Netherworld King, and he seemed to fear something, not unleashing such origin power. Otherwise, she would have faced dire consequences back then. Witnessing the resolution of matters, the 6 Sun Giant Emperor's gaze turned sharp, directed towards the Great Wine Sacrifice. At the Divinity Transformation realm, the Heavenly Realm's side was gradually falling behind. Hoping to turn the tide depended solely on their level of the Giant Emperor. "Now it's our turn," the 6 Sun Giant Emperor said indifferently, his body flashing with golden light as he prepared to ascend. Suddenly he felt something, looking down towards the land where Jiang Fan stood. At that moment, Red Sleeves could no longer suppress the teleportation force emanating from Jiang Fan's body. Jiang Fan began to lift uncontrollably into the air. This scene caught the 6 Sun Giant Emperor's attention. Narrowing his giant eyes, his perpetually indifferent voice acquired a trace of coldness. "This pulling force, it seems familiar." Emperor focused, he finally noticed the slightly peculiar glow emanating from Jiang Fan's embrace. The outline of that glow was in the shape of a token. He instantly realized what it was, and his pupils contracted violently as he let out a roar of disbelief. "It's the ancient token. How is this possible? Didn't your Central Earth realm participate in the hunt 1,000 years ago? The next participation should be 1,000 years later." The appearance of the ancient token was entirely beyond the expectations of him and all the giant emperors. Why did the Heavenly Realm stake everything on this extinction battle? Because Central Earth no longer had an ancient token to use, the ancient giants could permanently reside in Central Earth. Then they would annihilate Central Earth, and through it, invade the Hell Realm to completely exterminate the 3 realms. What he hadn't foreseen was that Central Earth had acquired an ancient token. Once the bearer of this token participated in the ancient wilderness hunting ground, as long as they survived until the end, regardless of their ranking. At the end of the ancient wilderness hunt, the invading ancient giants in the Central Earth realm would be forcibly returned to the Heavenly Realm. The appearance of this ancient token directly interrupted the 1,000-year plan of the ancient giants to unify the 3 realms. As the orchestrator of this battle, how could the emperor of the Central Tribe not be shocked? Jiang Fan must be stopped at all costs. The emperor of the Central Tribe's eyes flashed with killing intent. There was only one method to resolve this sudden and monumental threat: kill the bearer. If no one holds this token, naturally no one will be transported to the ancient wilderness hunting ground. And when the time comes, the ancient token will automatically become void. With this in mind, he coldly shouted, "Spare no expense, kill Jiang Fan." With a thought, 6 terrifying cursed sun wheels turned, directly launching an attack on Jiang Fan. The Great Wine Sacrifice flicked the horsetail whisk in his palm, causing countless silken threads to spread out, shrouding, kingdoming, and isolating the earth from the sky. He laughed aloud. "Didn't expect this, did you? Our Central Earth realm has another trump card?" The terrifying curse power poured down, corroding the threads into thick black droplets on the horsetail whisk. Although the horsetail whisk was damaged, it successfully blocked the full-force attack from the Emperor of the Central Tribe. Taking this opportunity, Jiang Fan flew into midair. The Emperor of the Central Tribe was both urgent and angry. "Why didn't we receive any news? Such an important token as the ancient token, how could you allow a heavenly person decline to possess it?" The Great Wine Sacrifice replied with a serene smile. "If we had pompously selected someone to hold the ancient token, wouldn't that have alerted you ahead of time? As for handing it to Jiang Fan, I believe he will survive the ancient wilderness hunt. There's no mistake in giving it to him." Ascending, Jiang Fan's heart was filled with sudden insight. No wonder this ancient token, which could change the fate of Central Earth, hadn't caused any stir in Central Earth. Aside from the Ice Heart Venerate coming to assess him, no one ever sought to compete with him for it. It was as if no one cared about the ancient token. This led Jiang Fan to even doubt the legends of the ancient token at one point. As it turns out, the great wine sacrifice of the 9 states was deliberately suppressing the fervor over the ancient token to prevent the ancient giants from detecting it prematurely. If they had known, they would have attacked the Taikang state with even more people than before. The entire heavenly realm would have devoted all its efforts to destroying Taikang state and seizing the token before the ancient token could be activated. "Jiang Fan, take this!" Suddenly a familiar voice rang out. The Jiangshan first-class building owner freed a hand, placing a jade pendant on his forehead and then flung it over. Jiang Fan's eyes lit up with joy. This was the building owner's domain. Speaking of which, he still didn't know what the building owner's domain was. Seeing this, the Golden Scale Venerate, the Wan Bing Venerate, and the Ice Heart Venerate all threw their domains over as well. Jiang Fan was going forth as the representative of Central Earth. His life or death concerned the survival of Central Earth. Even the sages battling in Kingaming attempted to throw their laws. But how could the giant emperor and the 10 sins of Central Earth tolerate this? "Jiang Fan of the human clan, die. Want to enter the ancient wilderness hunt? Dream on." Angry roars echoed from the 9th heaven. Terrifying power of laws and curse power poured down like the Milky Way, piercing through the heavens and the earth. The great wine sacrifice's horsetail whisk could no longer hold on and shattered into fragments. The domains thrown towards Jiang Fan exploded one after another. Jiang Fan's eyes were quick, hastily grabbing one of them, which was the domain first thrown by the Jiangshan first-class building owner. The giant emperors did not relent. The destructive curse and laws bombarded him together. The great wine sacrifice and the sages exerted all their might to block, yet still, some residual waves came crashing in. This left everyone aghast. The fierce response of the giant emperor and the 10 sins of Central Earth was somewhat beyond expectations. Jiang Fan's expression changed and decisively pulled out the ancient token, shouting, "I'm not going, whoever wants to can go." With that said, a flash of space power enveloped the ancient token, randomly teleporting it elsewhere. The giant emperor and the 10 sins of Central Earth's expressions were shocked. Good, Jiang Fan abandoned the ancient token. As long as no one holds it, the token will expire and become void. Their attention immediately followed the ancient token to another place, and once again they joined forces to strike the ancient token. The stance was clear. Whoever dared to possess it would be eradicated. They completely failed to notice that Jiang Fan's ascension did not stop, but instead accelerated. As for the radiant waves emanating, a figure in a blue robe silently stood before him. It was Xingyuan Venerable. At this moment he was also a paper figure, but his body was filled with incredibly vast energy. As those waves came radiating in, they instantly shredded him. Yet under the protection of the vast energy, Jiang Fan remained unscathed. From the fragments, a well-preserved blue rune fell into Jiang Fan's embrace. This was the wish paper, but it was entirely different from the usual yellow and purple wish papers, containing so much vast energy that it made one's scalp tingle. He also heard Xingyuan Venerable's voice, full of anticipation, echoing in his ear. "With this wish paper, you can make a great wish to heaven and earth. Take care, and you must come back alive." Only then did Jiang Fan realize that, unbeknownst to him, the thick, vast energy of Hunyuan state had significantly thinned. Although he didn't know the purpose for which Xingyuan Venerable gathered the vast energy between heaven and earth, it must serve an important role. Yet he had still spared much of it for Jiang Fan to use. Looking again at the many shattered domains of the Venerates in midair, watching the sages striving to fend off the giant emperor's attack for him, his heart grew heavy. In this journey, he bore the fate of Central Earth on his back. Life and death, survival or extinction, all rested on him alone. Tightly gripping the domain and the wish paper, Jiang Fan solemnly declared, "If I do not forge a path for Central Earth, I shall not return." In the next moment, he ascended to the skydome. The ancient token also erupted in blazing light, illuminating the heavens like a sun, overshadowing the golden light of all the giant emperors in the sky. Only then did the giant emperor and the 10 sins of Central Earth react. The emperor of the central tribe roared, "He's tricked us. The real ancient token is still with him." Boom, boom. Innumerable curses and laws poured towards Jiang Fan, who had transformed into a sun, accompanied by their roars. But it was too late for them to react now. With a swoosh, The ancient token took Jiang Fan and vanished into the void. The curses and laws all struck air. What surprised them even more was that the ancient token, randomly swept away by space power, also emitted an incomparably radiant light. Moreover, a hand successfully grasped it. The Emperor of the Central Tribe's face changed once more. No, that ancient token is real too. He didn't have time to react before this ancient token also took its bearer and disappeared into the void. Tribe Emperor let out a thunderous roar. What on earth is going on? The appearance of one ancient token was already against the rules, but never in their wildest dreams did they expect a second one to appear. In fact, it wasn't just him who was puzzled. Even the great wine sacrificers and several sages were momentarily bewildered. A second ancient token. Where did it emerge from? They had no idea either. Red Sleeve's beautiful eyes widened slightly as she recalled the magical dog bowl in Jiang Fan's hand. Put in a 7th grade great pill, and a brand new great pill would grow. Could it be that the second ancient token also grew out of the dog bowl? This guy is hiding too deeply, isn't he? Red Sleeves couldn't help but mutter. Could it be that he foresaw that something like this would happen during the forced teleportation, so he prepared in advance? At this moment, not far off, the Netherworld King staggered, having just absorbed the ghost mist of the Black Sun King, returning to the Netherworld King's body. The chi and blood within the Netherworld King's body instantly plummeted by more than half, leaving the body extraordinarily weak. She suddenly realized, no wonder during the previous great battle, the Netherworld King didn't dare use this dreadful origin. It was a case of killing 1,000 enemies while losing 800 oneself. Without absolute certainty, it should never be used. Only today, with the protection of several giant emperors, did he dare to use it. A flash of determination appeared in her eyes, and she decisively struck towards the Netherworld King. How dare you? The Blood Moon King quickly shielded him, but his actions were weak, completely lacking the ferocity from before. His heart was already in disarray. On this battlefield, the giants were already at a disadvantage. The real issue was that Jiang Fan, that dog, went to the ancient wilderness hunting ground. And if he won, the giants would be forced to retreat back to the heavenly realm. He already didn't know what the point of continuing to fight this battle was. Even if a reversal occurred and they won against the Central Earth Army, so what? If Jiang Fan survives the ancient wilderness hunt, all their previous efforts would be for nothing. Countless giant kings shared his thoughts. They no longer knew the meaning of continuing the battle. At this time, the Central Tribe Emperor also sensed the wavering morale of the army. He shouted in a resonant voice, "Continue the fight! Kill the Central Earth Army before the ancient wilderness hunt ends and occupy the Central Earth 9 provinces, so they won't be impacted by the ancient hunt's rules." Once Central Earth was occupied, it would be regarded as the territory of the ancient giants. The rules of the ancient hunt would have no power to force them out of their own territory, right? The spirits of the giant kings slightly lifted, but feeling the battlefield clearly at a disadvantage again gave rise to their weariness. Now the Central Earth held the upper hand. Trying to kill all the Central Earth Army was nothing short of a fool's dream. However, the Central Tribe Emperor looked up at the sky-reaching black pillar peak and shouted in a resonant voice, "Transmit my order. The Central Tribe's 1st Army, 2nd Army, 3rd Army, and 4th and 5th Army are to evacuate Heavenly State and head to Hunyuan State. Only 4 giant emperors are to remain to block the sky-reaching black pillar and state-level teleportation array. Arrive within half a day." From above the sky-reaching black pillar came an immediate respectful reply. "Yes, Emperor." Upon hearing this, the faces of the Central Earth Army drastically changed. No wonder there were no news from Heavenly State. It turned out they were under siege by 4 entire giant emperors and 5 full Central Tribe armies. What made them even more uneasy was that the Heavenly Realm was going all in, placing all their forces on Hunyuan State to annihilate the Central Earth main forces in one sweep. Once Hunyuan State was pacified, they would then march to annihilate Heavenly State. The great wine sacrificers wore incomparably somber expressions. Once the 5 armies arrived, the remaining forces in Hunyuan State would have no resistance whatsoever. He looked up in the direction where Jiang Fan disappeared, silently saying, "Jiang Fan, you must survive." The survival of Central Earth depends on whether Jiang Fan finishes the ancient wilderness hunt first, or whether the Heavenly Realm occupies the Central Earth 9 provinces first. Jiang Fan must race against time. Speaking of Jiang Fan, the ancient token broke through the space barrier of the Central Earth realm, carrying Jiang Fan at an indescribable speed through the boundless void. The pitch-black void flashed past Jiang Fan's sight like retreating lightning. Occasionally, strange glimmers appeared in the void, but before Jiang Fan could take a closer look, they faded like meteors. This continued for an unknown duration, over an unknown distance, until Jiang Fan's body, at the divinity transformation realm, began to feel dizzy, queasy, as if his stomach wanted to vomit. The ancient token gradually slowed down. In the pitch-black void, a glimmer of light appeared in his view. It was like a tiny hole poked in a pitch-dark cloth sack, letting one find a hint of safety in the suffocating and despairing void. As it approached, the light grew clearer. Its true form revealed itself before his eyes. It was a magnificent, enormous garden, surrounded by towering walls that seemed to touch the sky. The walls were covered with the patina of time, with traces of tides rising and falling. Even large, mysterious claw marks and remnants of laws, alien powers, and other battle scars were visible. It stood like a weather-beaten warrior, suspended alone in the void. What shocked Jiang Fan even more? On top of the city walls, ferocious ancient creatures roamed. Among them, some were identical to the azure dragon that was the mount of the sage hiding in Hunyuan State. Each one was at the level of the human clan's heavenly human 5 declines, and the leader even reached the level of the human clan sage, a true spirit. Jiang Fan's hair stood on end. What place was this? Who was it for? Even ordinary patrolling soldiers were at the heavenly human 5 declines, or even the sage realm. Was there an even higher existence in the unseen areas? Thinking of this, he became vigilant. He decisively took out the great angel's white bone given by the Jiangshan first-class building owner and held it close. This great angel oversaw the invisibility law. Though only the bone remained, making him truly invisible was difficult, but it could conceal cultivation, including the divine ring. With the bone against him, his unique full-moon divine ring at the back of his head vanished. At first glance, he seemed like an ordinary martial artist who hadn't reached the divinity transformation realm. Meanwhile, the ancient token carried him to the front of the high wall and slowly stopped before it. Several azure dragons strode forward, the leading one glaring at Jiang Fan with fierce eyes. If anything seemed amiss, they would pounce and devour him. The ancient token flew out from Jiang Fan's bosom, hovering over his head. From deep within the garden, a substantial gaze was cast over, glancing at the ancient token, and then falling upon Jiang Fan. With just that glance, Jiang Fan quivered, and the multicolored Xianxia automatically flew out to shield him from the prying gaze. A mere divinity transformation realm warrants the action of a saint. A light, teasing voice came from deep within the garden. The speaker was evidently more curious about Jiang Fan. The gaze sharpened, piercing through the multicolored Xianxia straight into Jiang Fan's body, seeing that his secrets were about to be discovered. Suddenly, a rustling sound echoed in Jiang Fan's mind. The invasive gaze was obstructed outside his body. From deep within the garden came a trace of surprise. Oh, interesting. Among those participating in the ancient wilderness hunt this time, seems there's yet another existence I cannot provoke. Tree, and who is the other person that cannot be provoked? Could the opponent also possess the void ancient tree? While pondering, the sound from deep in the garden came again. Who are you? Jiang Fan didn't dare to be arrogant. Clasping his hands, he replied, Jiang Fan from the Central Earth Realm. Ah, so you are from the Central Earth Realm, no wonder. All right, proceed. The azure dragon on the city wall slowly stepped aside, and the ancient token carried Jiang Fan into the garden. Jiang Fan was filled with doubt. Who is the deity speaking, the owner of the garden? Also, he said my special aspect was not surprising since I am from the Central Earth. Does it mean Central Earth is extraordinary? But Central Earth has suffered from the heavenly realm's ravages for thousands of years. It's not that powerful, is it? Confused. A burst of shocking thunder exploded beside his ears, causing Jiang Fan's body to tremble. He looked down. A white tiger, tens of yards tall, lay in the rubble and leaped up upon noticing Jiang Fan passing by. The terrifying roar made Jiang Fan stiffen all over. The realm it emitted made Jiang Fan gasp. This turned out to be a supreme great demon of the heavenly person 5 decays. For some reason, it hadn't transformed into a human clan form, remaining in its original body state, and its spiritual wisdom wasn't as elevated as the supreme. Its eyes were filled with greed and ferocity, resembling a man-eating beast. Jiang Fan was shocked, instinctively taking out a magical treasure to prepare. Just as the white tiger leaped to their feet, ready to devour them, there was a thud. It collided with an invisible barrier separating the sky above. The barrier released a wisp of law, instantly causing the white tiger's body to fester and fall down with a miserable wail. Yet it remained fierce, glaring at Jiang Fan before limping into the rubble. Jiang Fan exhaled a little, finally at ease. To his surprise, that white tiger was not the only fierce beast in the garden. To be precise, it was a rather ordinary one among the many fierce beasts, because on the way he saw at least 5 beings of the heavenly person 5 decays realm. Some were demon beasts, some couldn't be identified. As for heavenly person 4 declines, 3 declines, there were even more. The garden seemed to be filled with fierce creatures. He couldn't help but mutter, "Could it be that these fierce creatures are what we are supposed to hunt? Then, with my cultivation of the heavenly person decline, who is hunting who? Are you sure this is ancient hunting, not ancient feeding?" Soon, the ancient token carried him to the center of the garden. Roughly estimated, the garden is at least as large as Taikang State. The speed of the heavenly person decline crossing over would take at least several 2 hours. This scale is unimaginable for someone to create. In the center of the garden, there were circular grounds made of bronze. Jiang Fan found it familiar. Careful recollection revealed that this was the bronze ground of the Linlang hunting's end. It once housed a divinity transformation realm and a giant pill furnace as tall as a mountain. Now, the bronze ground was empty. Moreover, similar bronze grounds were everywhere, numbering at least 100. He realized that these bronze grounds would fly to various realms, hosting Linlang hunting. The final victors would gather here for the ultimate ancient hunting. But are there really so many worlds in existence? Jiang Fan clicked his tongue at the sight of the bronze grounds scattered everywhere. In his understanding, there were only Central Earth, Hell, and the Heavenly Realm. Now it seemed that there are unknown worlds beyond the 3 realms. The ancient token set him down on one of the bronze grounds, then melted into a pool of shimmering liquid. Then the liquid writhed, coalescing into a crown, engraved with the words Central Earth Jiang Fan. Soon after, the crown flew to his head, softly settling upon it. His gaze changed slightly as he attempted to remove the crown, only to find it firmly attached. "This is..." Jiang Fan felt a little uneasy. He looked around, finding himself alone. Others holding ancient tokens seemed to be on their way. This made him grumble. "Rushing like a haunting ghost, yet when I arrived, there's nobody." Nevertheless, nobody present was favorable. He had been on the battlefield with no time to inventory the items he carried. Now he could try. He first took out a strand of the green pearl's soul, confirmed it intact, and carefully stored it in a ghost soul crystal. "Once I return and find green pearl, I'll return the soul to her. And thus, we'll owe each other nothing." Thinking of green pearl's resolute and solitary figure as she faced death, he sighed slightly. Then he took out the yang fish given by Shu Bu Su. It felt heavy in hand, clearly something was stored inside. What exactly did this guy steal from the heavenly realm? It allowed him to prove his way of the domain of stealing and step into the divinity transformation realm. Jiang Fan was filled with emotion. When he initially suggested Shu Bu Su to ascend the heavenly realm to steal something to prove his way, he held little hope. After all, proving the way of divinity transformation was as difficult as climbing to the sky, not easily achieved. Unexpectedly, Shu Bu Su actually succeeded. He wouldn't have actually stolen the 3rd treasure from the Black Sun Royal Court's treasury, would he? Jiang Fan's heart beat wildly. According to Green Pearl, if this object fell into the hands of the human clan, it would spell devastation. He immediately opened the yang fish space, swept through with his consciousness, and his eyes widened, nearly crying out in shock. It was a small curved blade, entirely white as jade, exuding an incredibly holy radiance. It emitted a far superior powerful pressure than a spiritual artifact. Turned out to be a quasi-realm artifact. And this item, Jiang Fan was not unfamiliar with, for he had once seen the Jiangshan first-class building owner holding a broken blade and killing a giant emperor. That's right, this is the angelic blade, and it's a complete angelic blade. Jiang Fan gasped, "My goodness, no wonder the ancient giants consider it a doom." Even the giant emperor could be killed with one stab, much less the giant king or ordinary giants. Fear they would be slashed open like the giant emperor, exploding from inside to outside. "But," Jiang Fan frowned, "why doesn't the Black Sun King destroy such a dangerous thing? Keeping it would only bring great trouble to himself." Then he suddenly discovered that the angelic blade in his hand uncontrollably turned its blade towards Jiang Fan's chest. At the same time, a small, beautiful golden feather emerged on Jiang Fan's chest. The two seemed to sense each other. Jiang Fan stroked his chin, speculating. Could it be that the Black Sun King kept this for one day, to use the angelic blade to find some treasure from the Angel clan? Apart from that, what other deep intentions could such a cautious person have with something that poses a fatal threat? Pity he's already dead. Impossible to know. Holding the angelic blade, Jiang Fan swung it twice, revealing a satisfied smile. Another killing device against the giants. Even the giant emperor, if it couldn't move, could be dealt a fatal blow with one slice. Not to a wounded giant emperor lying before him whom he couldn't kill. With this thought, he took out several broken vines, which were the immortal binding vine taken by 9 nether demon venerable from the leader of 10 sins of Central Earth, Xianxia. According to him, these vines can bind creatures below the sage, perfect for this hunt. Realm taking advantage of the fact that others had not yet arrived, Jiang Fan quickly decomposed several grass vines into threads, then twisted them together. Before long, a grass-green, very rough vine appeared before his eyes. It was about 10 feet long, enough to bind a normal human. Though a bit short, it should suffice for now. Jiang Fan put away the grass vine and noticed that a piece of nail-sized green vine remained on the ground. He intended to toss it away, but suddenly realized that this piece seemed to be part of the root. His heart stirred, and he took out the breath soil to plant it. I hope it can grow a new immortal binding vine, Jiang Fan murmured to himself. Unexpectedly, the fixed seed became displeased, burrowing out from underground and spat at Jiang Fan. The general meaning was that other plants were encroaching on its space. However, upon recognizing it as the immortal binding vine, it ceased objecting and surprisingly bent down to rub its head against the vine. Not only did it stop repelling, but also stretched out a small bud to push the breath soil towards the vine, evidently worried that it wasn't planted firmly. Jiang Fan watched with suspicion. Are they sympathizing with each other or in love? His 2 artifact spirits falling in love was one thing, but now even 2 plants. Can everything pursue love? He rolled his eyes and put away the breath soil. Finally, he took out the Tai Chu prison sky gourd and the transparent chains formed from the law. This was his ultimate life-saving trump card. At this moment, all 3 colors on the gourd were dim, and it was unusable. He looked at the chains in his hand, eyes hopeful. Don't let me down. Having risked so much to acquire the power of laws, it couldn't merely illuminate the orange area. He decisively stuffed the law chains into the gourd. At once, the Tai Chu prison sky gourd shuddered slightly. The dim orange area started to brighten, and as the color deepened, it soon surpassed its initial hue. And the color continued to deepen. Ultimately, the orange reached the state of perfection, faintly tinged with darkness. The yellow gourd area also lightly brightened. Unfortunately, this law power was exhausted at this point. Jiang Fan couldn't help but be at a loss. This is too deceptive. 10 Sage Realm individuals, a tenth of their law power, yet it still can't activate the yellow gourd. Calculating, a tenth of 10 Sages' law power equals all of a virtuous realm's law power. That doesn't even account for the Xianxia's law power. His law power was probably not weaker than the combined power of the other 10. Upon tallying, using the orange gourd once requires all of a disaster sage's law power. As for activating the yellow gourd, perhaps only such beings as 3 disaster sages, those below the saint, could try. Guessing further, activating the blue gourd might require a saint personally infusing holy power. Jiang Fan rubbed his brow, sighing, "What year and month can I rub ancient saints like this?" Suddenly a roar appeared. Jiang Fan's expression suddenly changed. Could it be that someone had arrived, startling the fierce creature in the garden? He hurriedly put away the gourd and looked into the distance. In the glaring white light of the ancient token, a small girl in a black pleated long skirt landed on the nearby bronze earth. Jiang Fan initially froze, thinking it merely a petite girl like Gu Zinner. But upon careful observation, it was indeed a 6-year-old girl. A fair, tender melon seed-shaped face exuded youthful innocence, and big grape-like black eyes curiously surveyed the surroundings. Her black, soft, long hair was tied with a red hairband. A cute little spirit beast-patterned bag hung from her waist. She wore a pair of pretty pink shoes. A cute, well-behaved, neighborly little sister aura was palpable. But if one noticed the divine ring on her nape, chills would arise. Because on the divine ring behind her, 5 bright flame marks were glowing. Exactly. She was a supreme of the heavenly human 5 declines. Jiang Fan stood still for a time. A 6-year-old supreme, his brain was momentarily blank, finding it hard to accept. "Hello, big brother." The little girl noticed Jiang Fan, cheerfully waving with a pure smile on her childlike face. Suppressing the turbulence in his heart, Jiang Fan respectfully declared, "This junior from Central Earth, Jiang Fan, greets." His gaze traveled to the girl's forehead. Just like Jiang Fan, her ancient token melted into a crown on her head. Engraved on it was a line of words, Sin Realm Kiki. Jiang Fan's lips twitched. Was this name serious? With a strange expression, he said, "This junior greets Senior Kiki." Kiki chuckled, her voice soft and sweet. "No need for such formality. Just call me Kiki. Are you the brother from Central Earth?" People from Central Earth are really rare. Could Kiki join brother for hunting later? Jiang Fan decisively refused. "This junior prefers being alone. Thank you for your kind offer, senior." Having experienced divinity transformation, was any not once mad and demonic? How could she be truly innocent? Whether the little girl was genuinely 6 was uncertain, but definitely not innocent. Staying away from such an enigmatic and powerful person was correct. Kiki shrank slightly, shyly saying, "Sorry, brother, I was overly presumptuous." Then she stuck out her tongue and quickly turned away, like a little girl who had hit a wall. Jiang Fan felt a touch of guilt for a brief moment, then resolutely determined it was correct to stay away from this little girl. At that moment, in the distance, the roaring of fierce creatures was rising and falling. Others had arrived, not just one. His gaze caught 4 differently dressed members of the human clan, whose cultivation ranged from heavenly human 3 decline to 4 decline. Noticing Kiki, their expressions changed, becoming alert. Jiang Fan observed the changes and nodded inwardly. "All those who come here are top-level elites. None are fools, they will not be easily deceived." Roar, the roar sounded again. More people arrived one after another. Looking around, all were members of the human clan, dressed in various styles, wary of each other, clearly from different realms. Jiang Fan slightly nodded. It seems the human clan isn't unique to Central Earth. On the contrary, every realm is predominantly human. While pondering this, vast, sky-covering yin qi gathered into a cloud and came from the horizon. Very soon, a young demon race man with 5 marks on his nape's divine ring landed on a piece of bronze earth. He had white scales all over his body and eyes as clear as crystals, wearing bright yellow luxurious clothes and a black cloak with red trim. An exceedingly handsome visage, attractive enough to captivate even Jiang Fan, inducing a sense of unrealness. His appearance drew the focus of the crowd, exclamations echoing. The strongest demon monarch of the ancient demon realm, Liu Bianwang. Wasn't the ancient demon realm set to receive the ancient token in the next millennium? Why participate this time? With him here, who can compete against him? Jiang Fan was secretly surprised, ancient demon realm, wondering if the 9 nether demon venerables' nurture ground for the demon race was the ancient demon realm. Liu Bianwang solidified his stance, his domineering gaze sweeping all around, proudly shouting, "Where is the young emperor of Central Earth?" Jiang Fan was slightly surprised. The young emperor's reputation is so vast, has it spread to the outside world, even the ancient demon realm knows. Dead silence surrounded them. Liu Bianwang's gaze was like lightning, searching the crowd, quickly landing on the crown on Jiang Fan's forehead, raising an eyebrow. "Didn't your Central Earth snatch an ancient token? Why isn't the young emperor here but you, an unknown person?" As soon as this was said, all eyes gathered on Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan chuckled. "I seized the token, why should he come?" Liu Bianwang's eyes suddenly sharpened, his tone becoming more sinister. "You seized the token." He sized up Jiang Fan, then suddenly sneered. "HMPH, so it's you." Jiang Fan frowned, puzzled. Does this person know him? His fame isn't anywhere near that of the young emperor, is it? Until Liu Bianwang pulled out a handful of silver-white sand from the space storage device, his tone becoming even more cold. "Boy, still recognize this item." Jiang Fan took a look and was stunned. This is memory silver sand. He used memory silver sand to replicate a fake ancient token and tricked the demon Mirage's projection away from Central Earth. Only then could he obtain the real ancient token. Unexpectedly, he would see the memory silver sand again in his lifetime. Wait, if the person before him holds memory silver sand, what is his relationship with that mysterious virtuous realm-level ancient demon Mirage? Jiang Fan felt as if his heart was bleeding. After all this time, there's still more to it, and caught by the demon Mirage in the ancient wilderness hunting ground. "Don't recognize it," Jiang Fan replied without blushing or hesitating. Liu Bianwang laughed loudly. "Didn't you just say you took it?" Jiang Fan remained unfazed. Actually, it was my life-and-death brother Wang Xianxia who took it. He couldn't come due to circumstances, so he sent me as his representative. Don't misunderstand. Liu Bianwang's eyes flashed with ferocity, and he raised his hand to strike. But a rumbling sound flashed overhead, as if warning Liu Bianwang. He suddenly tightened his expression, quickly restraining his aura, and coldly stared at Jiang Fan. I don't care if it was you, Jiang Fan, or your life-and-death brother Wang Xianxia who took it. My father planned for 6 decades, using countless resources to move the Linlang hunting from a whole world to your central Earth realm to seize the ancient token. In the end, 6 decades of planning were wasted when your central Earth realm took advantage, causing my father to pay a heavy price just to get an ancient token from the Sin realm. This debt, even 10,000 lives wouldn't repay it. The opponent was so aggressive and ruthless that Jiang Fan could not simply back down. So why be timid, HMPH? What of your father's? Things in my central Earth realm belong to my central Earth realm. Also, your father being outmaneuvered for the ancient token by a junior in the core formation realm is utterly ridiculous. If it were me, I'd never mention it again, and yet you still shout it everywhere, fearing your father's face isn't lost enough. The experts from various realms listened in astonishment. Wasn't it said by the great dream demon venerable to the outside world that the seizure of the ancient token failed because of interference from some sage in Central Earth? How is it that a core formation realm snatched it? Whose words are true and whose are false? Is there a need to ask? Liu Bianwang's expression is already the answer. Everyone looked, and Liu Bianwang's face covered in white scales was darkly gloomy. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Lies don't hurt, but the truth is a swift blade. Liu Bianwang spoke with deathly menace. Central Earth's Jiang Fan, you're dead. Do you know what the prey of the ancient wilderness hunt is? It's that anything can be hunted, including the participants. Jiang Fan felt a chill, realizing that the ancient wilderness hunt does not prohibit participants from killing each other. The hunt hasn't yet started, and he's already marked by a demon monarch suffering heavenly human 5 declines. This is a thunder strike at the start. However, he's no longer the same. With the Tai Chu prison sky gourd and various treasures, he fears not the heavenly human 5 declines for now. If truly provoked, he'll waste a trial run of the Tai Chu prison sky gourd, tuck him in, and shake him into a Tai Chu seed. Don't fear him. At this moment, a gentle voice like a spring breeze came from afar. The ancient demon realm will soon be destroyed by the ancient blood demon. Its life and death depend on him alone. He doesn't dare to divert too much attention to deal with you. As the voice arrived, a snow-white giant bird, more accurately said, a handsome young man with enormous snow-white wings flew down. Above his head were 5 miniature winged people flying around him, radiating an incomparably holy light. The ancient token melted into a crown worn on his head, revealing his identity. Northern Heavenly States Yunwang Xiao. Another wave rippled across the numerous bronze grounds. The Northern Heavenly States angel leader closest to the great angel 5 Qi. The Northern Heavenly States suffered attacks from the Hell Clan and the ancient giants successively 10,000 years ago, causing the vast heavenly realm to fall apart, yet even after 10,000 years, it remains highly prosperous. An angel leader is equivalent to our human clan's divinity transformation realm, while a great angel equates to virtuous realm. As I know, the Northern Heavenly State is guarded by a pair of 9-winged great angel spouses. There are also more than a dozen 8-winged and 7-winged great angels. It's said Yunwang Xiao has long had the opportunity to advance to great angel, but has restrained his realm for the ancient wilderness hunt. This time, the first place of the ancient wilderness hunt can only be contended between him and Liu Bianwang. Others have no chance at all. Jiang Fan listened with secret amazement. So the angel clan's realm division is like this. Angel, angel leader, great angel, corresponding to nascent soul, divinity transformation, and virtuous realm, respectively. But why is this Yunwang Xiao from the angel clan helping him? Or is it just a grudge against Liu Bianwang? Yunwang Xiao, you dare interfere with my ancient demon realm's affairs? Liu Bianwang sneered, a hint of apprehension flashing in his eyes. Yunwang Xiao landed on a bronze ground beside Jiang Fan, smiling, still like a spring breeze. The heavenly realm, central earth, and the hell realm have all suffered destruction by the ancient giants. Our 3 realms are interconnected. Naturally, we should assist each other. If dissatisfied, you may ally with the world invaded by the ancient blood demons. He then cast a gentle glance at Jiang Fan. Follow me later until Liu Bianwang leaves. Such kindness, how could Jiang Fan refuse? He quickly clasped his hands in thanks. Thank you, Senior Yun Wangxiao. Yun Wangxiao waved his hand. No need for courtesy. Our three realms are all under attack from the ancient giants. Supporting each other is necessary. Wait, Jiang Fan looked shocked. The Hell Realm and the Northern Heavenly State are also being invaded by ancient giants. Aren't all ancient giants supposed to be in our central Earth? Upon hearing this, Yun Wangxiao was slightly surprised and said in amazement, You seem unclear about the relationship between the three realms and the ancient giants. Jiang Fan actually knew very little about the various realms. He clasped his hands in respect and asked, Please, Senior, enlighten me. Yun Wangxiao chuckled in surprise and said, You're too polite, it's just some common knowledge. Why talk of enlightenment? How much do you know about the heavenly realm? He first asked Jiang Fan a question. Jiang Fan recalled, I only know that 10,000 years ago, the heavenly realm was split into 4 parts because of the invasion by ancient giants. The southern heavenly realm was occupied by the ancient giants. Yun Wangxiao nodded lightly. No wonder you had such a question. The heavenly realm indeed split into 4 parts, but it wasn't just the southern heavenly realm that was occupied. The eastern heavenly state and western heavenly realm were also occupied at that time. Only our northern heavenly state defended its territory. Only then did Jiang Fan learn that 3 out of the 4 parts of the heavenly realm were occupied by ancient giants. He vaguely understood something. Yun Wangxiao continued, Every time the millennial tribulation is initiated, the ancient giants from the eastern, western, and southern heavenly realms will attack our 3 realms separately. Among them, the southern heavenly realm invades your central Earth. The western heavenly realm invades our northern heavenly state, and the last, the eastern heavenly state, invades the Hell Realm. Of course, occasionally an ancient giant from a heavenly realm is powerful enough to attack 2 worlds at once. So it is indeed. Jiang Fan was secretly in awe. The power of the ancient giants was far more extensive than he imagined. However, he was puzzled again, asking, But aren't we in central Earth blocking the upper part of the Hell Realm? How do the ancient giants from the eastern heavenly state cross over us in central Earth to descend upon the Hell Realm? Yun Wangxiao smiled, and a thread of holy force flowed from his fingers, casually pointing in the air. A 3-dimensional map floated in midair. They were 3 flat continents. The 3 overlapped on each other. The uppermost layer split into 4 parts, unmistakably the heavenly realm. The middle area was very small, not even as large as the fragments of the heavenly realm. Undoubtedly, it was central Earth, pieced together from the territories of Hell and the heavenly realm. The bottommost layer, similar in size to the heavenly realm, was naturally the Hell Realm. Among them, central Earth's upper part was directly facing the southern heavenly realm. Its narrow area couldn't cover the vast Hell Realm. The eastern heavenly state could easily use the connecting sky-black pillar to descend upon the Hell Realm likewise. Jiang Fan suddenly understood. Looking at central Earth, which had only 1/20th the area of the heavenly realm and Hell Realm, he couldn't help but feel embarrassed. I knew central Earth was small, but I didn't expect it to be this small. Yun Wangxiao smiled slightly and said, The strength of a world lies not in its size, but in the number of its strong individuals. In 10,000 years, how many territories not weaker than our heavenly realm and Hell Realm have been destroyed by the 3 great ancient dark creatures? Yet, as a small world, central Earth has tenaciously survived to this day, 1,000 years ago having almost defeated the giants of the southern heavenly realm, which in itself makes it so no one dares to call central Earth small. Oh, is central Earth quite renowned among the various realms? Jiang Fan felt greatly honored. This status was fought for by the predecessors with blood. He said, Thank you for your guidance, Senior. Yun Wangxiao laughed. I told you there's no need for formalities, just call me Brother Yun. Jiang Fan remained polite. Junior dares not. The reason he remained polite to Yun Wangxiao was for a reason. Firstly, in the ancient wilderness hunting ground, anything can be hunted. Anyone could become someone else's trophy. Even familiar people could turn against each other, let alone someone he just met. Secondly, he hadn't forgotten that the heavenly thunder 6 parts he was practicing was within the domain controlled by the angel clan. And once trained, it would merge with his body, allowing any powerful being from the angel clan to control him through that domain. Just like when he was uncontrollably drawn into the stone cone space by the white-robed skeleton in the 10,000 Tribulations holy temple. Thus, he kept a safe distance from Yun Wangxiao. Yun Wangxiao smiled, showing appreciation in his eyes. No wonder you can represent Central Earth here. This vigilance indeed gives you hope to survive until the end. What I said earlier still stands. Follow me after the great battle for safety's sake. Jiang Fan said, "Thank you, Senior." Should the other party truly mean well, Jiang Fan would reciprocate, but he would still maintain his caution. Liu Bianhuang glared at Yun Wangxiao angrily. "Troublesome fellow. Better if the ancient giants swallow up your remaining northern heavenly state too, leaving you all homeless, perishing in the dark tide." Yun Wangxiao smiled indifferently. "You should worry about yourself. The ancient blood demon is no less of a threat than the ancient giant." Liu Bianhuang was about to retort when he suddenly sensed something and abruptly looked towards the sky. The casual smile on Yun Wangxiao's face also disappeared, his expression becoming serious. "They sent someone too?" Kiki also turned her head to look into the distance, her grape-like eyes turned once, and a hint of surprise flashed through. Jiang Fan sensed something, curiously looking into the distance. Who could make the three heavenly human five declines great venerates present so solemn? In his line of sight, a blinding white light guided a young man descending onto the bronze earth. He was tall and slender, wearing a dark long robe that fluttered in the wind. His left hand was placed in front of his abdomen, while his right hand rested on a long sword at his waist, wearing a 9-tassel crown. His gaze was straightforward, filled with a majestic aura, like an emperor inspecting the world. Jiang Fan was slightly dazed. For a moment he thought he saw the human emperor statue from the Brahma Saint True Spirit technique he cultivated. Except for the different countenance, everything else completely overlapped, giving Jiang Fan the illusion of seeing the true human emperor. As the ancient token melted, forming a crown that stacked on his diadem, a line of words clearly appeared. "Young Master Xiang of Divine Capital." Jiang Fan was surprised. Divine Capital? The name of this realm is somewhat domineering, daring to call itself Divine Capital. This person's name is also very unusual, having no surname, just prefixed with Young Master. At least in Central Earth, he had never heard of such a name. Liu Bianhuang was taken aback. "The imperial body of Young Master Xiang. Your true self is already in the virtuous realm. Why come to the ancient wilderness hunting ground?" Yun Wangxiao's expression also turned grave. "Divine Capital has never been invaded by the three great ancient dark creatures. They have no need for the rewards of the ancient wilderness hunting ground." "Why have you come here?" Jiang Fan listened, secretly amazed. The person before him was part of a virtuous realm body. Like the twin sages of Central Earth, who could divide into two great venerates, Wu Gu and Red Demon, and walk the world separately. The young man before him was the imperial body of a certain sage. His cultivation was also at the level of heavenly human five declines great venerate. Jiang Fan almost felt like spitting blood. It was one thing for figures like Liu Bianhuang and Yun Wangxiao, who suppressed their realm and could break into the sage any time, to come. But a sage actually sent an imperial body to participate. This gave ordinary participants no chance at all. Young Master Xiang, like an emperor, swept his eyes over the two, his voice crisp and authoritative. "Do I need to explain my actions to the likes of you?" The overwhelming majesty of the emperor lay upon the many world representatives on the bronze earth, leaving them struggling to breathe, their bodies swaying dizzily. Even Liu Bianhuang and Yun Wangxiao felt great pressure, having to fully resist it. Only Jiang Fan, with multicolored clouds emerging from his body, easily withstood his aura. Young Master Xiang seemed to notice, glancing sideways. Noticing the multicolored clouds on Jiang Fan's body, the imperial gaze had a slight ripple. "What relation do you have with the ancient saint of cloud desolation?" Jiang Fan was secretly shocked in his heart. Could it be that the sage in front of him knew the ancient saint of cloud desolation from Central Earth? And just from the colorful Yun Zia on his body, determined it to be the protection of the ancient saint of cloud desolation. The reputation of that awful woman from the ancient saint of cloud desolation was this big outside the realm. He said expressionlessly, "It's nothing, I'm not familiar with her." If there's any relationship, it's that he was determined to grind her into the ground. Young Master Xiang looked at Jiang Fan, as if trying to see through him. After a moment of silence, he said meaningfully, "This hunting event will be more exciting than expected." He withdrew his gaze, looked around as if he was the emperor ruling the world. The majesty of an emperor swept across the area. "The peace monument, I'll take it." His tone was steady, without any firm and sharp words, yet it gave an inescapable oppressive feeling. As if informing everyone, Jiang Fan rolled his eyes. That tone was not just similar to the young emperor, It was exactly the same. If the young emperor was also here, and the two of them confronted each other, it would certainly be a spectacular scene. Liu Bian Huang gritted his teeth, let out a muffled groan, and remained silent. Yun Wangxiao clenched his fist and suppressed his desire to erupt. The other realm representatives didn't even dare to breathe loudly. The hunt had not yet started, but the first place was already reserved. Since young Master Xiang had appeared, who could compete with him? Soon after, people arrived one after another. There were many people, and Jiang Fan didn't have the time to observe each one. Over 80 out of the 100 bronze lands were occupied. Time's up. The ancient tokens of those who haven't arrived are invalid. A lazy voice rang down from above. It was the mysterious person responsible for verifying their identities when they first entered the garden. At this time, he still remained elusive, heard only by voice, not seen in person. Announce the rules. First, the targets are the 3 ancient dark creatures, others are invalid. Second, the hunting period is half a day. Third, the final ranking is based on the number hunted. After the announcement, without giving them time to think, he continued. As for the rewards, first place the Peace Monument. By planting this monument in the world, you can avoid the next invasion of ancient giants. For other rankings, a commemorative prize. Jiang Fan frowned slightly. The rewards were just the one? As for some commemorative prize, it seemed like a perfunctory thing, not necessarily precious. The competition was indeed quite fierce. One wonders how that person from Central Earth 3,000 years ago managed to win out in such a 100 realms contest where heroes gathered. If there are no objections, then let's begin. A giant funnel appeared in the sky, sand trickling down from it. The countdown began. The ancient hunt officially began, however, just as the word begin was being spoken. Someone had already made a move on the bronze land below. Jiang Fan, heedless of everything, immediately used the no-self dust-cleansing technique to hide himself. This startled even the owner of the garden. I hadn't finished speaking yet. Next time, I'll have to add a rule that you can only act after I finish talking. The others reacted quickly too, each using their divine skills to take action. Those with weaker cultivation chose invisibility like Jiang Fan. Only those who reacted a moment slower were out of luck. A sharp, tragic scream was heard. Jiang Fan turned towards the sound and saw a half-invisible human smashed into a bloody mist by something unknown. The blood mist spilled over the other being, vaguely outlining its form. It was actually a 20-zhang tall tiger. Jiang Fan's heart skipped a beat, immediately recalling the heavenly human 5-decline white tiger encountered upon entering the garden. Since it could attack, didn't it mean that the barrier isolating the ferocious creatures was lifted with the hunt's start? He was speechless to the extreme. Why place so many beasts in the garden? The so-called 3 ancient dark creatures were already dangerous enough. In a flash, he realized. The owner of the hunting ground was preventing some participants from passively hiding and waiting for the event's end. Such participants might lack ranking but would still survive, resulting in the suspension of their world's battle. Jiang Fan frowned slightly. Clearly, more rewards could motivate them to hunt, yet the garden's owner chose to drive them with beasts. This person wasn't benevolent. Also, this white tiger was indeed a sly devil. It had been hiding nearby, waiting for the hunt to start, then immediately appeared to catch prey. Suddenly another scream was heard. Jiang Fan felt a cold sweat. Had another beast appeared? He turned to look, seriousness filling his expression. It was Liu Bian Huang. As the hunt began, he directly attacked the person next to him, killing him on the spot. Pity the person had just perfected their invisibility. Liu Bian Huang didn't even glance at his victim's body or their resources, immediately heading to the bronze land where Jiang Fan stood. He opened his mouth to emit a fog that enveloped the bronze land. Sizzle! The fog-covered area emitted a corrosive sound. Even the bronze land was left pitted and ruined. If someone stood within, they'd likely melt into blood. Brat, you ran pretty fast, Liu Bian Huang sneered darkly. Not far away on another bronze land, Jiang Fan smirked. Was he a fool? Knowing Liu Bian Huang had targeted him, why wouldn't he quickly change spots while invisible? Liu Bian Huang scanned the surroundings fiercely. Try not to meet me, or I'll tear you apart. He dared not linger, as young Master Xiang, Kiki, and Yun Wangxiao had already rushed to the depths of the hunting ground. He immediately turned and followed them into the depths too. Before leaving, he even killed a participant blocking his way. Jiang Fan's eyes darkened. This guy was truly ruthless. It made sense if mutual slaughter occurred in the late period for capturing prey. but to kill participants so recklessly at the very start. It showed the ferocity of his character. It's best not to encounter him. Wasting a Tai Chu prison sky gourd on him isn't worth it. Jiang Fan thought silently, turning to move on. Suddenly, he felt a chill run through him. He turned to find himself staring at the blood-soaked white tiger. Its gigantic, well-like dark red eyes were locked onto Jiang Fan's invisible form. Compared to Liu Baiyan Huang, the white tiger's sense of smell was sharper, faintly picking up Jiang Fan's invisible scent. Damn, Jiang Fan felt his scalp tingling. Had this white tiger held a grudge against him? The white tiger crashing into the barrier and getting hit had nothing to do with him, right? But the white tiger couldn't care less about that. After locking onto Jiang Fan's position, it pushed off with its limbs, smashing through numerous void cracks. Within a breath, it pounced like a ravenous tiger on Jiang Fan's location. However, it caught not the already alert Jiang Fan who had moved, but rather a metal sphere left by Jiang Fan at the spot. This was a spiritual artifact gifted to Jiang Fan by the great venerate Wan Bing before the final battle. The armor-breaking divine pill, specially crafted for the Golden Giant King to break through defenses. Previously, it never had a chance to be used. Now it can be put to good use. Fan, who was hiding in the distance, willed, "Explode!" The armor-breaking divine pill exploded on the spot. Inside, it generated an incredibly powerful explosive force, splitting into hundreds of tiny beads. With the explosion, the tiny beads sprayed out in all directions at extreme speed. Caught off guard, the soft belly of the white tiger was hit by dozens of beads. The original design of this divine pill was to deal with the two-star Giant King and had little effect on the white tiger with its heavenly human 5 declines, merely causing belly pain. Fortunately, Jiang Fan had long noted that this white tiger was male. Thus, the beast whip hanging outside also received quite a bit of bead bombardment. Roar the white tiger immediately let out a deep and urgent roar. Its 20-yard-long tiger body toppled onto the ground, curling into shrimp-like shape, rolling back and forth, low grumbling continuously. From afar, Jiang Fan chuckled. "Don't you hold grudges. Let me make it a bit more memorable for you. Humph, such a petty creature." With that said, he quickly dashed away, leaving the white tiger roaring repeatedly, especially louder upon hearing the words petty creature. Half a cup of tea later, deep within the garden at a mountainside, an old and a young strongman teamed up, poisoning 6 ancient blood demons fallen to the ground. The elder was in the heavenly human 3 declines, while the youth was in the heavenly human 2 declines. Lying on the ground were all ancient blood demons of divinity transformation realm, including one of 2-star level. Elder Zhang, indeed ginger becomes spicy as it gets older. Your poison has strong restraint against ancient blood demons, easily poisoning them down. The youth's crown had the words, Poisonous World Jiang Yishan, engraved on it. The elder's crown also had the words, Poisonous World Zhang Jinfeng, engraved on it. Turns out they were from the same world, thus able to team up in this deceitful hunt. Zhang Jinfeng stroked his beard and laughed. Everything has its weakness, even the 3 major ancient dark creatures. The poison I concoct can kill them effortlessly. With this poison, our poisonous world can compete with young Master Xiang, Yun Wang Xiao, and Liu Baiyan Wang. Jiang Yishan was full of expectation. Noticing the ancient blood demons starting to recover, he quickly said, "Elder Zhang, quickly kill them lest they become a problem later." Elder Zhang waved it off, saying, "You do it. After slaying ancient dark creatures, an inescapable number will be imprinted on the crown. Others will see and fear me. It will be hard to poison them quietly again. So, you'd better take their lives. I'll work secretly." Jiang Yishan hurriedly said, "How can that be? The final results are determined by the number of kills. Wouldn't I be taking Elder Zhang's achievements?" Zhang Jinfeng shook his head, saying, "We are from the same world. The goal is to save all beings. Why care who gets the credit? Quickly, before the medicine wears off." Jiang Yishan was full of admiration, saying, "Elder Zhang, your noble character and integrity, I the younger admire. Then allow me to slay the ancient blood demons for Elder Zhang." He immediately walked up, drew a black blade, and cut towards the nearest ancient blood demon. With a swing, the ancient blood demon's blood splashed everywhere, some accidentally landing on him. In the next moment, he felt numb all over, hands and feet not coordinating. His mouth opened to speak, yet he found he couldn't say a word. Zhang Jinfeng's kind face finally showed a few ridicules. "Young people are naive. From the same world, you expect me to give you such great accomplishments." If I can save our poisonous world alone, I'd become its hero, enjoy the top-level resources, eventually becoming a great venerate. With you included, this credit gets shared, plus you're so young and promising, eventually they'll support you, not an old fellow like me. So, you'll have to be sacrificed for now. He walked up, carefully avoiding the blood on the ground from ancient blood demons, saying, "The poison I concoct not only works on ancient blood demons, but also on the human clan." Then he grabbed the space storage device from the youth's arms, his gaze disdainful. "What's the activation spell? Hand over the life-saving item the great venerates and sages gifted you. I'll give you a swift one." Jiang Yishan zipped his mouth shut, not saying a word. Zhang Jinfeng chuckled. "Being a divinity transformation realm of poison path, you don't believe you can endure my torment." Suddenly, Zhang Jinfeng clutched his throat, a face of agony. His entire body was decaying, the divine ring behind his back rapidly rotting. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a pile of fallen mud. Jiang Yishan expressionlessly turned around, bending to retrieve the space storage device from the mud pile. Appearing naive, he grinned. "How coincidental, I thought the same." "A hero, just one is enough." He wiped his finger across the space storage device, removing a layer of invisible toxic powder. In a dense forest, Kiki looked at the dim environment, afraid. "Uncle, why bring me here?" She was accompanied by a robust man of heavenly human 4 declines. He teased, "Don't play innocent, aren't you trying to team up just to get treasures from others?" "Coincidentally, I'm after your treasures too." He lightly patted his chest. A layer of light flowed, revealing the true state of the divine ring behind his head. It was a divine ring of heavenly human 5 declines. This person turned out to be a hidden great venerate. Kiki's grape-sized eyes squinted slightly, her innocent and naive look vanished, replacing it with keen interest. "Haha, now it's getting interesting. However, you somewhat overestimated. What interests me isn't your magical treasure, but you yourself." Then, after a brief great venerate fluctuation, it returned to tranquility. Kiki dusted off her sleeves bloodstains, half of her face hidden in the dark, mysterious and eerie. Though being heavenly human 5 declines, lacking particularities, falls short. Had it been that Central Earth lad I met at the beginning, it'd be better. I always felt he's somewhat different from the rest. Unfortunately, I don't know where he ran off to. Jiang Fan didn't run too far. He cautiously moved deeper into the garden, not intentionally looking for the ancient blood demons. Surviving the ancient hunt itself is a reward. That's when the ancient giants of Central Earth will retreat. Thus, survival is the primary goal of the ancient hunt. Competing for first place is secondary. The sages and great venerates' expectations for Jiang Fan are likewise, which is to survive. However, he at the moment had reached the inner bounds of the garden, even not intentionally seeking ancient blood demons. He still eventually ran into them. A huge battle fluctuation unexpectedly erupted nearby. Jiang Fan squinted his eyes, mocking. "When I wasn't here, no battle waves, and as soon as I'm near, there is. Could it be such a coincidence?" A trace of suspicion arose in his heart, and after a brief thought, he still approached quietly in his invisibility state. He discovered it was a basin, filled with numerous potholes and craters. Lava rolled in the pits, and blood-red monsters resembling lizards crawled out. They were covered entirely with red scales, standing upright on their hind legs, with long, fiery red, sharp tail spikes. Their mouths flicked black tongues, and they held a 3-edged steel fork in their hands. On their foreheads there were varying from 1 to 3 stars. Jiang Fan was taken aback. Are these not the blood-colored monsters from Linlang hunting? The difference is that the blood-colored monsters before him were more humanoid, transcending the level of mere beasts. The stars on their foreheads were exactly the same as the ones on the ancient giants, which revealed their identity. Ancient blood demons, one of the 3 ancient dark creatures, the ancient blood demon. Currently, a 3-crowned Asura king was hunting an ancient blood demon. To be precise, being hunted by the ancient blood demon. Because 3 layers inside and out, there were 8 ancient blood demons surrounding them. Among them, there was a 3-star blood demon king and 3 2-star blood demon kings. The 3-star blood demon king refrained from attacking, but ordered 7 blood demon kings to assault her first. It then circled the battlefield with a steel fork, looking for the best timing to strike. Once the Asura woman showed a flaw, she would be killed instantly by the 3-star blood demon king. Jiang Fan watched and pondered silently. The intelligence of the blood demon king is comparable to that of the giant king, truly troublesome. Although the Asura woman is formidable, she won't last long. But why did she provoke a group of ancient blood demons alone? Isn't this suicidal? He suspiciously observed the woman. He found her whole body shrouded in a layer of black mist, her appearance indistinguishable, and the crown on her head hidden within. It was impossible to ascertain her origin. Thinking for a moment, his eyes flickered, approaching the battlefield silently. Whether you are really in danger or faking it. Since you're holding them off, I'll hit and run. Anyway, any kills are a gain. As he neared, the strong Usura woman suddenly fell into disadvantage. A 2-star blood demon king took advantage of her attacking elsewhere, flinging a tail spike into her calf like lightning. The 3-crowned Usura king's body was instantly pierced by the tail's spike, which, like fiery lava, immediately melted the calf from inside out. Ah! The Usura king let out a pained cry and turned to smash the head of the ambushing 2-star blood demon king. But this finally gave the 3-star blood demon king the chance for a lethal strike. He raised the steel fork high, hurling it fiercely at the Usura king's back. But suddenly he became wary. His tail swept fiercely behind him, with the sharp tail spike causing the space to sway with heat. Swoosh! A muffled sound echoed as a 3-colored divine rainbow sliced the tail's spike, sparking and leaving marks. Hiss! The 3-star blood demon king was startled, shouting in human clan language. "Who is it?" He stared at the marks on the tail's spike, deeply shocked that someone was hiding in the dark without his knowledge. The opponent's 3-colored divine rainbow was exceedingly dangerous. His tail spike was exceptionally hard and wasn't supposed to be damaged, yet now it was marked. If not for his innate keen senses and timely response, he might have been hit. The Usura woman who had fallen to the ground also showed an unusual expression, observing the surroundings of the 3-star blood demon king. She seemed to want to uncover the hidden person. However, the 3-colored divine rainbow vanished without reappearing. Instead, 3 injured 1-star blood demon kings behind suddenly exploded without warning. An injured 2-star blood demon king also let out a scream as its body began to rot. A well-prepared violet light slashed across his neck, and that was the end. Jiang Fan took advantage of his success, ignoring the remaining 1-star blood demon king, and fled immediately. The 3-star blood demon king's face changed dramatically, roaring, "Get out here for me!" However, as soon as he began to shout, an icy voice that made him tremble came from above. "You're all useless, couldn't even hold him." The 3-star blood demon king, the 2-star blood demon kings, and the remaining 1-star blood demon king. All of a sudden, their expressions became sluggish, eyes hollow and lifeless. The 3-crowned Usura king also stiffly rose, gaze dull. They all stood eerily still, as if turned into puppets. Soon after, a young man and woman wearing black robes slowly emerged. They were surrounded by Yin Qi, each with 5 and 4 crowns overhead. They were evidently the 5-crowned king of hell and 4-crowned Usura king from the Usura clan. The crowns on their foreheads were clearly engraved with Southern Heavenly Realm. The male held the name Heavenly Sword, and the female Tian Qin. The 5-crowned king of hell glanced at the 4 dead blood demon kings, laughing angrily. Where did this cautious guy come from? Tried to trap him, but he ended up slaying a few blood demon kings. The young woman beside, with beautiful features. If Jiang Fan were present, he would undoubtedly recognize that this woman's appearance was remarkably similar to Princess Tianji, held captive beneath the White Horse Temple. Their identities were self-evident. Imperial family of the Dark Shura clan from the Heavenly Realm. Tian Qin also laughed angrily. "We've been unstoppable, fooling and killing several elites from various realms, yet this time we met a top-level slippery one. After eating clean, just wiped his mouth and slipped away." Turns out, both the 3-crowned Usura king and the ancient blood demons were their controlled puppets. Under their manipulation, if a hunter passed by nearby, both sides would pretend to be fighting. Once the hunter fell into the trap and joined, they would face joint attacks from the 3-crowned Usura king and ancient blood demons. Even if outmatched, the two would intervene. Everything went smoothly, allowing them to seize many resources and snatch numerous accolades. Unexpectedly, they got tricked by a hidden and unidentified individual. The opponent probably sensed something wrong, but instead of fleeing, just opportunistically took advantage. Both were truly exasperated by this. Tian Qin dismissed the control over the 3-crowned Usura king, restoring her consciousness. "Take it." Tian Qin tossed her a healing spirit pill. The 3-crowned Usura king swallowed it, her severed leg visibly healing. Tian Qin asked, "Did you recognize who just attacked?" The 3-crowned Usura king shook her head. "I don't recognize." As she shook her head, a strand of silver hair flashed within the black mist. Heavenly Sword said, "Enough, let's go somewhere else to set more traps and gather as many life-saving resources as possible. According to the time estimate, it's almost time for the ancient blood demon tide. That's the moment to truly decide military exploits. What about young Master Xiang? He may not be a match for our Dark Shura clan's puppet talent."